Good evening and welcome to another edition of Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. We are out on the road once again, live from the Billiard Factory, Champions location in Houston. Glad to have you along for the ride. As always, I'm joined by the starting right tackle for the Houston Texans, the 8-3 Texans, Eric Winston. Eric, thanks for coming out and joining us out here tonight.
You wouldn't know it if you listen to the radio today. You wouldn't know it.
Texans fans about to jump off the ledge. We're going to get into that in just a second. I want to introduce our other guests, or those that are on the first line, if you will. We start with, to my immediate right, a member of the Green Bay Packers Hall of Fame, the Arkansas Razorbacks Hall of Fame, NFL veteran Greg Koch.
Hey, great to be here, and I know you guys are 8-3 because I'm following. That offensive line is rocking, so I'm not kissing up the host, but I got to tell you, when you got running backs that can run like that and just interchange them, I like what I'm seeing.
And on my far right, we have Matt Jackson. I trust no relation to the former English soccer player and members of the 90s English national team.
Still a broadcaster on Fox Soccer Channel, I believe. Every time I see that across the CG, I'm like, I've made it. I finally made it.
And our actually, Matt, I should say, is a talk show host here in Houston on SportsTalk 790. And our third member will be joining us in just a minute here on the second line, if you will. NHL veteran and now a current member of the Houston Aeros here in Houston, Jeff Taffe, set to join us any minute now. We may have to give him, as soon as we get him out of the penalty box, we will get him into the chair on Eric's left. I want to get right to the hot topic of the day in Houston, Eric. The Texans, who lost Matt Schaub, who lost Matt Schaub just a few days ago, or just a couple of weeks ago, now lose Matt Leinart to a broken collarbone. The team's 8-3, but it looks like T.J. Yates is your starting quarterback, a rookie out of North Carolina who has not been tested in the NFL yet.
You say that like a negative.
Well, I feel a little more comfortable with Matt Schaub or Matt Leinart leading the offense.
I think we all would, but that's not the situation we're in anymore. I think it's a situation now where everyone's just got to continue doing what they're doing. He was drafted for a reason. He's got to come in and play. And I think Koch can attest to this, that no matter what position you play in this league, no matter where you're drafted, you're going to get your chance at some point. And it's usually not on your timetable. So this is his chance. And the good news is that he's been in this offense as a college player. John Shoup ran an offense with a lot of the same terminology and a lot of the similar dynamics and route combinations and everything like that. And then now coming into this, he's gotten some reps. He's been a part of this team now for the whole year. It's not like he just got here 4 weeks ago. So we're going to ask him to operate. We're going to ask him to play quarterback, and I'm going to play right tackle, and Arian's going to play running back, and we're going to continue to go down the road. Is
this team, I know a lot of fans are ready to jump off the ledge. Can this team, though, win with just running game, a fantastic defense, and a rookie that has either a limited playbook or is not taking a lot of chances, I should say?
Well, why not? You look at Baltimore 3 years ago when Flacco was a rookie quarterback, and they went to the AFC Championship game, I think it was. You look at Sanchez back in a couple years ago, and they went to the AFC Championship. So, just because that you might be starting a rookie at quarterback doesn't mean your team can't be successful. I think we got the ingredients, if you're going to have to start a rookie at quarterback, to still have a good team. Obviously, the defense is playing lights out for most of the year. We've had a great running game, and I still think we have a lot of dynamic receivers with Andre now coming back in the fold, and he'll be in better and better game shape as the season progresses down the stretch here, and he'll be able to contribute a lot more. So, if you're going to have to be put in this position, I think I like the surroundings he's going to be a part of.
Boy, your career as a blindside tackle lasted less than one half.
I know, it was like a quarter and a half. It was a blur. It was a blur.
Let me ask you guys, Matt, Greg.
I think Leinart took a dive.
With Leinart out, I mean, is it unfounded for Texans fans to have their finger on the panic button even if they're not pressing it yet?
Here's what I think. I'm glad that neither, and I wouldn't expect the players or coaches to say, woe is us, and feel bad for themselves. I do feel bad for the fans in this sense, because this town had totally embraced the idea of this team as a Super Bowl contender. Whether Matt Schaub was the quarterback, whether Matt Leinart was the quarterback, it's going to take them some time to embrace T.J. Yates, and it's nothing against T.J. Yates. It's just the realism of, you've never had a third-string quarterback go out and be forced to even start for a playoff game. I mean, a third-string quarterback, that's almost unprecedented for that to happen. And even though Gary Kubiak mentioned a number of times today, hey, we're still going to look out for other people. We're still got to think about this long term. The reality is you got a guy with limited experience that's got to go out there and try to beat a pretty good football team on Sunday. Now, he's not doing it alone, but I think mentally for the fans who have been through a lot with this franchise from day one, they finally think they're about to reach the mountaintop, and now there's a little bit of a wait-and-see period again. And like Eric mentioned, like Greg has mentioned, you still have just a phenomenally good defense. I mean, I still can't believe the defense that's being played out there. You've got a very manageable schedule, and you still have a great offensive line. Whether or not TJ Yates can get the job done, that remains to be seen. But it is going to take, I think, the fans probably a couple weeks. And these are two really good games because Atlanta and Cincinnati, those aren't teams that you can Jacksonville your way through. No offense to the Jaguars. I was really hoping that Owen Daniels would come in yesterday.
Was it no offense or no offense?
There really was no offense for Jacksonville. I was kind of excited. I thought maybe just put Owen Daniels in just for the. I mean, it was so obvious that they weren't gonna that you guys were not gonna try a whole lot.
If you put him in, do you just go shotgun the whole time? Is it
Why not?
Is it easier snaps, or is you put him under center?
I can't wait. I'm like legitimately. How far, if forced, how far do you think Owen Daniels can throw a football?
Like just running up to a line and throwing it? Or like literally from a drop back?
Do you think he's even taken? When do you think the last time he took a 5-step drop was?
Oh, they've actually practiced it.
Do they really?
I've seen him after practice.
In the preseason,
I could have thrown the passes Leinart was throwing yesterday. And
right.
And that's going to be the key. Look, you get in the NFL, the three hardest positions to learn as a rookie are number 1, quarterback, number 2, cornerback, and number 3 is tackle. So, I mean, there's a learning curve. You know, you come out of North Carolina and you're facing defensive backs that all run a 4-5, 4-6, and now all of a sudden you're in the NFL and they're all running 4-2, 4-3. They make up that change a little bit different. But he's walking into a perfect situation. You got a running game, you got a great defense. But if they stop the running game, or if the running game struggles a little bit like they did a little bit yesterday against Jacksonville, who's a damn good defense, you're going to have to make the passes and you're going to have to complete those plays. And so I think from that standpoint, I love the rallying of the troops around your guy because that's your teammate. But realistically, it's a question mark on how he's going to do.
The Texans brought in Kellen Clemens last week when Matt Schaub went down and was lost for the year. Now they bring in, they're looking at other veteran quarterbacks. We've heard Jeff Garcia's name, Trent Edwards, Brody Croyle. I know you're probably in Croyle's camp.
Yeah, right.
Get to that. I mean, we've heard speculation about Brett Favre were the Texans going to land in Hattiesburg.
I believe Jeff George started the Jeff George rumor.
Andre Ware's going to come out of the booth.
Tell me Jeff George is not Uncle Rico from Napoleon Dynamite. Watch me throw this ball over the mountain right now.
I can throw it a quarter mile.
I'll swear I could have won the high school state title.
Gosh!
Vinny Testaverde, where's he? Ty Detmer?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, where does the list stop?
Where's the Klingler brothers?
Is there a need, I guess, for people to stress out about who they're going to bring in?
Well, I think it's kind of much ado about nothing situation because you're still going with TJ. I mean, TJ's our guy, and whoever is brought in as a kind of as a 2 or a 3. And hey, if something happens to him or whatever, something falls off, that they have to go to him. That's the situation. So you're not bringing a guy in to compete with TJ. So I think for people to think that you're going to, even if you did bring in a whoever, a Brody Croyle, a Jeff Garcia, you're not bringing that guy in to compete for the number 1. You're bringing him as more security blankets.
Really, a number 5.
Obviously, we've kept on chopping in there.
Can you disagree with the host on there? You're going to bring in somebody who's going to give you guys the best chance to win. And if TJ doesn't turn out to be the guy that we think he's going to be, whoever gives you the best chance to win, whether they do bring in a Brett Favre or somebody else, that's who's going to be playing under center. I know it's the right thing to say right now. He's our guy. You're not competing.
Well, what I'm saying is if you bring someone in it doesn't matter if you bring Brett Favre in on Wednesday. He's not starting this Sunday.
Yeah, he's going to need a week or two.
And that's my point is that TJ's going to have this first crack at it. He's going to be out there for these next couple of weeks, whomever you bring in. Right. And I think it's important for people to know that. And I think it's also important for people to understand that what you saw of TJ is about 15% of his capability, what happened yesterday. I mean, that was a situation where coaching staff's forced to say, we cannot get this guy hurt. He cannot take any hits. So you're in a situation where your D's playing unbelievable. You keep playing field position with your punter's punting better than their punter. And, if you have to hand it off 3 times and punt, that wasn't necessarily a bad thing. I'm just saying, a lot of people are, well, he couldn't even make a throw yet. Well, we weren't asking him to make anything.
Well, that was going to be my question. Did you guys simplify the offense even with a veteran like Matt Leinart coming in who hadn't taken the snaps since 09?
Matt's been here for 2 years. We ran the same offense that we had been running. We flipped some things one way or another, you know, some different. But Matt was, from everything that I know of, they were running the same. They had the same amount of plays in, and they'll probably do the same with TJ. You got to remember, he's been here since the beginning. He was here in the summer with Matt learning it. Like I said, they actually ran a lot of these same concepts, called them the same thing. The language was the same. That's why they liked him so much coming out of UNC, because it was all the same terminology. So I think it's a situation where, you know, now that we're able to dress a couple more guys behind him, you know, you're not terrified that he's going to have to take a couple hits. And I think you'll see a different TJ. Like you said, it's going to, hey, you know, he's going to have to go out there and perform, but I think he's going to get his legit shot.
Here's what I think, though, is here's where the tough line is, if it's me, is it's nice to go out there and let's try to beat the Falcons. And that's all well and good. But this team is making the playoffs. I mean, we all agree this team is making the playoffs. Making the playoffs is great. And there's one thing to go out there and let's game plan and let's let TJ do certain things to win the Falcons game. But are we going to get TJ ready to win a playoff game? I almost say, do you let him go out there and make his mistakes and really see what the guy can do? Almost treat it somewhat like I know you can't treat it like a preseason game, but really take all the wraps off him, let him do what he can do. If he throws 4 picks, he throws 4 picks, rather than trying to nurse it through, be conservative, try to win the Falcons game.
But you got to make the playoffs.
But
Tennessee, I know they're going to be there. You know they're going to be there. But they got to get to 10 wins.
But you got Indianapolis and Carolina, which you're going to beat. I mean, legitimately, you're going to win those games. And unless Tennessee wins out, Week 17 probably doesn't even matter.
Right. Hey, let's get into more Texans talk along the way tonight. We've got the Giants and Saints underway, our Monday night game here. And I want to get your thoughts quickly as the Saints have the ball moving down the field. What do you expect from this game? These are 2 playoff contenders.
Well, I expect this. I expect the Saints to be throwing it down the field. I think Sean Payton does a great job of getting everything vertical. Breeze does a great job of hitting those receivers in stride, and they're always stressing the defense, much like Green Bay, vertically. They're always making sure they're going up the field, skinny post, fades. They find different ways to get Breeze out in protections, pulling guards, faking. You know, they do so many different things because he's so athletic and he can do a lot. He's going to force the ball vertically down the field. And then on defense, the Saints are going to blitz. They're going to blitz. That's Greg Williams' MO. Conversely, for the Giants, they have to get after Breeze. They have to have that pass rush show up that didn't show up last week against the Eagles. When they're effective, when they're playing and they're winning, they're running the ball and they're getting after passer with their front four. They have to do that against Breeze, and they're going to have to run the ball. They have to control the clock a little bit. But at the end of the day, I think it's going to come down to who plays better, Drew Brees or Eli Manning. And Eli Manning's probably going to have to throw this ball 35 times for them to get some points or for them to win the game.
Hard to beat New Orleans in New Orleans. Greg, do you think there's much chance of an upset here?
Well, you know, the Giants can play defense, but what Giant team's going to show up? I mean, I think Eric said it best. Eli's been playing like Peyton this year, but he still has his lapses. They're not at full strength at running back or wide receiver. So you know the Saints are going to get their points. They're going to score on you. So can the Giant match them as they go along? And the only disagreement I have with Eric, I don't think the Giants are running the ball that well. They're only averaging like 80 yards a game.
No, they're not. They're not at all running the ball. I said they're going to have to run the ball.
Right, exactly.
Brandon Jacobs has been a major disappointment this year. He's really, I don't know what's happened to that guy, and he doesn't seem to get along with with a whole lot of his teammates either.
I just don't think he's an every down guy anymore. I don't think he's got the stamina. I don't think he definitely doesn't have the build for it. And I think his role when Ahmad Bradshaw was in was perfect because it was, hey, let me come in and take advantage of you after you're tired of chasing Ahmad Bradshaw.
This guy check the shelf life of 265-pound running back.
This guy that just caught the ball right here for the Saints is a matchup nightmare. This is Jimmy Graham.
I don't know. He's from Miami.
But honestly, I don't know how you guard this guy. I really don't. Is there one? If you were going to prototype one guy to try to cover him one-on-one, who would it be? I can't even think of anybody. He's too tall for a safety. And I don't know, there aren't very many linebackers that can run with the guy. He's a freak.
I'd say Urlacher could probably cover him, but that's what you would need, a long, rangy guy that can run with him. I remember him at Miami. I remember him as a basketball player. Just this big, gangly kid that, didn't say a lot and was in the training room. And, you never thought in a million years. When I didn't even hear about him in two-a-days. And then he showed up and they had him in the games at Miami. That's not the same guy that used to play basketball. Was that his little brother? I thought it was his little brother for a while. Sure enough, he had switched over, and it's unbelievable season. Unbelievable story.
Only played 1 year of football at Miami.
Unbelievable story.
And here he is. He's emerging as one of, if not the best tight end in the league.
He's having the best year.
Unbelievable athleticism, yeah. Really good.
Makes you wonder why you don't have more NFL scouts going to basketball games and looking for Antonio Gates. I mean, you
they're
got
signing so many. I mean, you can see there's Gates just opened the floodgates. I mean, once Gates was found, they were given 10 grand for anybody to come to an NFL camp that might, every Kent Stater, every guy that was that 6'6" power forward that didn't quite make it to the NBA or didn't want to go play in Europe got invited to an NFL camp, and most of them fall. But there have been some great stories like Graham, Gates. There's been a lot of them.
Yeah, when I played, it was all the track stars. Ronaldo, Nehemiah. They're going to bring all those guys. Every track star came to an NFL. Oh yeah. Willie Gault could run. Yeah.
Is blocking less of a factor at tight end now that that's even easier to do that because there's less going into the position?
Well, I know our tight end at Green Bay, Paul Kaufman, his son Chase at Missouri, was a tight end that they'd split out, and he was a lot like Jimmy Graham. The problem is when he got to Cincinnati, he had never had his hand down in the dirt, so his blocking skills were next to nothing. So he didn't really make the team, made the practice squad, and I think he's on the street right now. So if this guy, he seems to be a great blocker as well. I just think he's got great athletic talent.
And I think coaches look at it from this standpoint is that we can teach you how to block. I can't teach you how to run. I can't teach you how to be 6'6" and 255 with great coordination and haul in one-handed catches over linebackers. But I can teach you how to at least keep someone on the line of scrimmage. I can get you in the weight room and keep you strong enough. I just think they start from that standpoint, which I completely agree with.
And there's something to be said for basketball players jockeying for position on a, if it's a fade route or even just a pass over the middle. They know how to get their body in position to make the catch, get their hands on the rebound.
They're used to blocking guys out. They're used to using their butt. They're used to, using their other extremities instead of their hands and pushing off to create space. I mean, isn't that what rebounding's all about? And if you're a good small forward, power forward, like most of these guys are, they're usually undersized. I mean, think about it. Right. Even in an NCAA setting, they're undersized, playing against usually guys that are 2 or 3 inches taller, and they have to use their strength and they have to use their size, their width, to create space, to make rebounds, and to get shots off because they'll get blocked if they don't.
And that's a huge misconception. Those big guys in the paint aren't beating up each other. Anyway.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But, I mean, that's what I'm saying. They're using that space, and that's the same thing you watch Jimmy Graham and Gates, especially Gates. Gates uses those little techniques that I'm sure he used in basketball a lot to create space and get those catches.
Graham gets called for the offensive pass interference there. It's a swing pass to Sproles out of the backfield. Graham picks off the middle linebacker. Within the tackle box, you don't see that called very much. I mean, I don't think he did a good job of disguising it. But guys do that all the time, right? Come across and take out the linebacker.
There's always the pick routes. There's always the routes that you're going to have that, oh, whoops. Yeah, let me run this curl right here, and things like that. It's part of the game. And as long as you know how to do it, as long as you're not blatant about it and truck somebody, you usually get away with it.
But I'm noticing early not much pass rush on Drew Brees. That could mean a long night.
What is wrong with the Giants' pass rush? This team used to be the best at getting after the quarterback. I know they've had injuries, but it's got to be something more.
Well, and they're not stopping their run as well.
Right.
I mean, they're not in those situations.
Fake field goal here.
To Graham. Missed the tackle.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, did he get it?
No, he's short. I think he's short.
Didn't get it. What do you think about that call?
I don't like
Sean
that.
Payton had a chance at a sure 3.
You're afraid of the Giants? I mean, put the points on the board early. I don't know.
Yeah.
I always take the points.
You're at home. Do you really need
Daniel is the holder.
Plus, he's already on crutches. He can't run very fast.
Here's the fake.
You don't want the fans after you when you're on crutches.
That's a pretty long way to go for a first down.
That's a 10, 11 yard.
And he wasn't even close.
At least. Yeah, they're a yard and a half away. That's just hard to get. I'll never forget, though, the guy at Utah. Remember the first game of the year, Utah State at Auburn. And he intentionally let the Koch run out and acted like he was upset about it just to run the fake that was good from 4 years and got it. Like, oh, man.
Well, I just don't like what it does to your team mentally. You drive right down the field, you're going to get 3 points. The Giants haven't looked like they can stop you at all, and now all of a sudden you get no points and they've stopped you, and now momentum switched to the other team.
It's a massive swing. That momentum of knowing that you just completely shut them out of points that is a big, big swing.
Well, we'll see how it affects the Giants as they get ready for their first possession of the game. We are live at the Billiard Factory here in Houston, the champions, the Willowbrook area location, 6900 block of FM 1960. Eric Winston, myself, Matt Jackson, Greg Koch. We're soon to be joined by Jeff Taffe from the Houston Aeros, NHL veteran. That's right. He's going to be skating into this chair in just a moment. We also want to say thanks to our sponsors over at Chicken Kitchen. 2 locations in Houston. They generously feed all of us and all the crew here on Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. We also like to thank their delivery specialist, Chick Norris. Check out this quick video of Chick in action.
the somersault never gets old. The somersault he's about to hit here never, Ace Ventura style, never gets old. Oh man, look at this stash. That's way better than mine.
I'm ready for it to be gone.
Yeah.
And as we get Jeff settled in here, we are glad to have Jeff Taffe here from the Houston Aeros, former NHL player, now with the Houston Aeros here in Houston. Jeff, thanks for joining us. And
Thank you.
Hey, look who you brought along, Chick Norris, following you in here.
It's quite the name. Oh, I'm good at it.
Good thing the NBA is going back. Those guys are looking for jobs everywhere.
Well, you haven't missed much in the game other than the Saints going for a fake field goal
Nice.
at the end of their first drive instead of taking the 3 points.
Got to respect that.
Giants with the ball here. Do you have a rooting interest in this game, Jeff?
Not so much this game. I was watching a little bit yesterday. We had a day off, so it was nice. From Minnesota, I follow the Vikings. Not very interested in them. Just been following, obviously, the Texans this year and stuff. But this game, not a huge New York fan by any means, so I definitely go New Orleans.
There's no way you're from Minnesota. I didn't hear 1A.
Minnesota.
I try to take it out. My wife's all over me about it. She tries to get it out of me, so.
Well, Greg used to play for the Packers, and you're a
I
Vikings
finished
fan.
with the Vikings.
You know, I was with a Bears fan yesterday, and he's, you know, I like the Packers a lot more than I like Chicago. I was in Chicago a little bit last year playing, obviously, and they're just so arrogant up there, and it's tough to be
Good
part
question
of.
for you. Everyone makes a lot out of the NFC East matchups. You know, they're old school Dallas, Washington, Philadelphia. To me, the Packers, Minnesota, Chicago, Minnesota, Green Bay, all that.
Well, they're some of the oldest rivalries.
Yeah, seems much more chippy. Seems much, I don't know, it just seems more of a rivalry type than sometimes when you're watching, Philadelphia, Washington.
Well, I think
how was it when you were there?
Well, I played against the '85 Bears, and so we were always 8-8 because we were all offense.
That must have been fun.
we were all offense, no defense. Yeah, it was great. We loved it. I think they beat us like 13-7, but we just hated each other.
Sure.
I mean, the minute you put on a Packer uniform, you hated the Bears, and they hated us. So you walk out to the game, we had to walk out through a tunnel that wasn't covered. We get spit on, so they finally had to put a covering over us. So I love those Bears.
At least you guys scored.
Yeah,
it was an offensive touchdown, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Had to be Lofton.
Well, we had some pretty good. We had Lofton, John Jefferson, and Paul Kaufman.
Is that? Obviously, is that defense still the best defense you think you've ever seen?
Well, it was different. People weren't ready for that 46
Sure.
defense, so you had to come up with different blocking schemes. We played against some good defense, but they were really good. I mean, they were so athletic.
Like say it's 2000 Ravens.
Well, you got two Hall of Famers in the D line, and Dan Hampton and Richard Dent. And then you had Singletary at linebacker, and they had some great secondary guys. But all their linebackers, Wilbur Marshall,
Sure.
Otis Wilson,
Their whole
they were
front
just
was
good. Yeah, the refrigerator Perry was inside, and then Steve McMichael.
Yeah.
They were good. They were just good. They were talented. They weren't
Sadly
really good
enough, in my
offensive.
generation's known as a wrestler more than a football player.
A semi-horseman.
Yeah.
Semi-horseman. Did you guys consult on your mustaches? I have to say.
The handlebars.
They look very
No, we sat down and I was like, God, I'm going to have the second best mustache on
I'm
the
ready
panel.
for it to be over with.
Yeah.
It's been a
impressive.
long 3.5
Yeah,
weeks.
it is.
I get the worst stares around
Yeah,
town these days.
the thing that pisses me off more than anything is they think I'm serious. It's like, hey, I'm Eric, and they're like, and you can just tell them, like, this guy looks ridiculous.
Dude, where did you park your Harley?
Yeah, but they think I'm serious. And I'm like, God, I'm not, and you end up explaining, no, it's for charity. No, it's for charity to every single person.
They still don't believe it.
They're like, sure.
No.
Sure.
Part of Movember, right?
Yeah, yep.
And you're on the
Houston Handlebars.
Houston Handlebars.
Nice.
You ever grow a
Oh, you saw my '70s porn mustache.
Yeah.
I used to rock that. I don't know if I look more like Tony Orlando from Dawn or.
I saw Tony Orlando at Epcot Center over Easter.
I had the Tony
It's funny
Orlando
that you said that because
mustache,
that's the
Was
only.
he working or
Yeah,
what?
no, he performed. He does like 2 shows a day.
taking
now.
tickets,
He does
or-
2 shows a day.
You sure you weren't in Branson?
Yeah. No.
Welcome to Tomorrow World.
I don't think he's old enough to be in Branson yet. Give him another 10 years, he'll be able to go up there. I'm working on about 2 weeks of growth right now, and that's about as good as it gets. So.
2 years.
Eli and the Giants moving the ball well. Victor Cruz, who we talked about, I know, in the preseason, Eric, he's established himself as a legit
He's a great slot guy.
Initially, it was like
he's taken over the role of Steve Smith and done it pretty well.
They can't keep the three healthy. I mean, like Manningham's out tonight, but Nix is hurt one time, so they're all alternating all the time.
They are, but he's done a good job of stepping in. You know, I think when you're managing a salary cap and when you're managing, you can't sign everybody back. And so they said, hey, listen, Steve Smith's coming off an injury. We don't know if he's going to be okay this year. We can't sign him back. But we think this Victor Cruz guy is pretty good. And he has been. He's been everything they needed. I remember we were talking early in the season. We had a Monday night game, I think, with the Giants.
Right.
And we said, hey, their biggest thing on offense is they're going to have to find – Nix is great down the field. Manningham gives you some explosion. But Steve Smith's been the guy that keeps the chains moving on 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6. They're going to have to find a guy to do it. And Victor Cruz has been that guy.
Well, if you go back to Hard Knocks last year when the Jets were on,
awesome.
Victor Cruz lit them up. Yeah.
Killed them.
It's amazing how you have receivers just come out of nowhere. It seems like a position where it happens a lot. Now you got the guy up in Dallas, Laurent Robinson, who's always been hurt. But
cut by a couple of teams.
Cut by a couple teams, and now he looks like maybe he can.
Is he the guy that Irvin had on his show?
No, it's Jesse Holley. Jesse Holley's the guy that almost scored the game winner against the Niners in Week 2. But this guy was semi-promising with the Rams, but could not stay healthy, and now it's kind of taken on the Miles Austin.
He's the go-to guy.
Yeah,
other than Jason Witten.
And Des Bryant still makes some spectacular plays, but. They haven't missed Miles Austin at all, and given the challenge of the Giants' schedule down the stretch, the Cowboys might win that division.
I think they're going to win it.
And I give the Cowboys a lot of credit for developing receivers. I mean, they've gone out and they've developed a lot of. I mean, you look at Laurent Robinson and these guys; those are solid receivers, and they're stepping in for Miles Austin, stepping in, and I mean, I know their offense isn't as productive as it used to be, but I don't think they're the reason it is.
Is it more so the quarterbacks like you, or is it because maybe the coaches like you? How does it fit in football?
As far as what?
To get your chance. I mean, let's say he's hurt, but I mean, let's say does a quarterback stick his neck out for you because he sees you in practice all the time, or is it more so maybe a different coach on a different team likes you and, hey, you know, we think you'd fit with us?
Yeah, depending on how much pull the quarterback has on the team. He's got more and more say of, hey, I like throwing to this guy versus this guy. But, you know, at the end of the day, you got to impress the coaches. You got to impress the head coach especially, or depending on who runs the offense. If you got a defensive coach, you got to impress the offensive coordinator, and they're going to give you that chance. And there's a lot of guys, and receivers becoming in a position where, kind of like running back, in a sense, that there's a lot of them. There's a lot of good receivers or adequate receivers. There's not a lot of great ones, and the great ones are paid like they should be. But I don't think you're going to see a slew of, I guess, unless you're a very top-notch guy, of those going in the first round anymore. I really don't. I think you're going to see these drafts, you're going to see a lot of 2nd and 3rd, 4th round receiver picks, because you look at Mike Wallace and these guys. There's a lot of good receivers, speed out there now to be had in these middle rounds, and I don't think you're going to see a lot of
Do you think what teams are doing with so many 5 wide receiver sets that you feel like you're going to get guys in one-on-one matchups so you don't have to be just unbelievably good to beat double coverage? Does that make more receivers viable at the NFL level?
Well, I think what's happened is it's a trickle down from the colleges and from everything that, and maybe not the NFL hasn't completely gone to the spread, but you look, and it's the same reason why there's a lot of good quarterbacks now. You know, you're doing all these 7-on-7s. You're doing in high school. You have a lot better coaching. You know, that's spread out to a lot of levels. I mean, you got a lot of good mid D1 programs that have a lot of good offensive coaches that are being hired. You know, the quarterback's coach is now taking the San Diego State head coaching job, and he's installing a pro system, or he's installing this. And you know, take Mike Sherman for example. I mean, when's the last time you thought A&M is going to have 2 receivers drafted in the top maybe 3 rounds?
Never.
I mean, that's the thing. You know, you have that kind of thing.
Oh, and the interception there.
What they couldn't
do.
Taken out of the tight end's hands by Will Herring.
But it comes down to every other position on the team. I mean, you either perform or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these guys have unbelievable talent, but they can't catch a cold. Yeah. I mean, you can throw it to them, it can be right there, and you just see they just struggle catching the football. And a coach will buy into that athletic talent for maybe 1 season, maybe 2. After that, I mean, if you're not performing.
Hey, look what's going on with Deshaun Jackson right now in Philadelphia.
He got benched in the 4th quarter.
Guy can't catch a cold. I mean, he's just.
And it wasn't like Vince wasn't putting it right in his hands either.
No, I mean, he's been dropping touchdown passes, and I don't know why it's into his head just because everyone else has gotten paid and he hasn't. How many years is he really in the league, though? What, 3 years,
3
maybe?
years, I think.
Well, he actually apologized today. He said, I'm a much better player than what I've shown.
This has got to be his 4th year, I think.
Yeah,
because he's going to be a free agent next year, so he had to have he was a 2nd-round pick at a Cal.
Yeah,
was he a
4 years, so it would be 4.
So he'd be a free agent next. I know he's going to be a free agent next year. Whatever.
He'll always be known as the guy that the Giants punted to at the end of the game
for some unknown reason. Hey, we want you to be a part of the conversation here on Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. You can follow us on Twitter at TheBusTV. That's at TheBusTV. We have our first Twitter question from a former guest of ours, Josh Abbott, country singer we had on the show a few weeks back. He says, speaking of wide receivers, are you tired of seeing apologies from NFL players like yesterday when Stevie Johnson, the Bills wide receiver, apologized to Plaxico Burress for his innovative touchdown dance? If you didn't see it, he acts like he's in the club after scoring a touchdown, pretends to shoot himself in the leg, a la Plaxico Burress, and then does the Santonio Holmes impersonation, cruising around the end zone too. Hey, apologies. First off, he said after the game, he said he felt like he cost the Bills the game because after the 15-yard unsportsmanlike conduct penalty, the Bills kicker flubbed the kickoff, and it ended up setting up the Jets for what proved to be a difference-making score.
Well, and Plaxico wasn't very gracious in accepting the apology because he said, well, then he went out and dropped 3 passes, so if he wants to play like that, just let him keep doing it.
I didn't think to me, the 15-yard penalty didn't cause the Bills to give up the touchdown. Kicker flubbed the kick. So you kick off from the 20-yard line, or the 15. Or what is it? No, it's the 20-yard line. So worst case scenario, if normal case scenario, they maybe are getting the ball at the 40. They should be getting the ball at their own 40-yard line.
Right.
You still can play defense. The kicker kicked a
whiffed
line drive, hit a guy in the face, and they had the ball still at the 40. And even still then, doesn't mean you have to give up a touchdown right there. Now, I mean, he's got to know. How long was that celebration? Felt like 15 seconds almost. He's got to know that it's going on forever. And I guess the interpretation is the only reason he got flagged is because he went to the ground.
Fell down. Yeah,
that was it?
Yeah, he fell down.
It wasn't for the.
He went to. Yeah, you can't go to the ground. You can't.
Don't
shoot yourself in the leg and fall down. You can shoot yourself, but you can't shoot yourself in the leg and fall down. So if you're able to withstand the pain of the fake shot to the leg, and then keep your feet about yourself and get off the field, not a penalty.
So if you score, you can't do the worm?
No.
I don't know if he can do the worm anyway.
That's the beauty.
But wait a minute, didn't Chad Johnson or Chad Ochocinco, whatever he calls himself, a couple years ago, he got penalized for pretending like he was putting?
Can't use props.
Oh, man. The no fun league.
You could pretend like you have a putter, but you cannot use a pylon as your putter.
When's the last time you had an exotic goal celebration ever? I
haven't been scoring too much lately.
Well, if that happens on the ice, the guy's getting punched out, right?
You don't see it too often. Sometimes, let's say your team gets scored on or something, somebody comes by the bench and you can hear them a little too much. Somebody will take care of it, and that's, I think.
That's what I love about hockey.
Something will be said, and then later, if you want to do it again, something will happen.
But see, that's what I like about hockey. They don't go to the media and complain, these guys are dirty. They take care of themselves on the ice. And a lot of guys think the NFL is starting to become the no-fun league, because when you can't celebrate and have I realize, look, if Plaxico shoots himself, he's taking worse ribbing in his own locker room than he just took from Stevie Johnson. So
I enjoyed it. I thought it was creative. I mean, you don't want to have guys pretending like they're playing with guns out there, but this was directed at Plax and what he did.
Which I thought was pretty funny.
I was laughing.
I thought it was very innovative.
Give him an A for effort?
Yeah, absolutely.
If he just would have stayed on his feet.
Can't use props.
That's why it's hard. It's hard to shoot yourself and not go to the ground. It is.
So he'll get fined for that too?
Yeah. Well,
I know every rule. If I was going to lose money, I know every rule.
Yeah, if you get on sportsmanlike conduct, you're going to. So that's another thing that's dumb about what was going on right now that I can't stand. The incidental penalties are getting fined. Give you an incidental face mask, that's a fine.
Why?
It should just be a penalty. I mean, in hockey they fine you for blows to the head, but they're not going to fine you for a bad cross check or maybe a bad cross check, but they're going to fine you for a hooking.
I mean, you still got to basically kill somebody.
But that's using props.
Yeah,
true.
You also get fined for orange shoes.
You're not allowed to play anymore with orange shoes. They weren't even allowed to be on the field.
That is just so ridiculous.
Who was it wearing the orange shoes?
Guy on the Bears, right?
Yeah, guy on the Bears has really, the color orange they have, it was much brighter.
It was neon
orange. It was really bad, and so he had worn it 2 straight weeks. They'd fined him 2 straight weeks.
And they raised the fine to $40,000 the second time.
Then Goodell said, No, he raised it to $15,000.
Oh, it's up to 15.
And then Goodell said the next week if he comes out there, he told the officials don't let him.
Do they see it as a competitive advantage, or are they just trying to protect Reebok? Or
yeah,
what?
what they're doing, they're blinding the defensive backs.
Yeah, have you told your
preventing
listeners about the NFL having uniform police at every game?
No, we
Is
haven't really
Raymond
talked
Claiborne
about it.
still?
Claiborne,
He's
yeah.
still the guy, yeah.
Can you talk about that without getting fined? Because we don't want to.
Yeah, no, they have people there. NFL has people there, and they basically walk around with a clipboard. And if your jersey is not regulation, they send it into the league, and they send you a fine. If your socks aren't the right way, if you're not covering your knees, whatever it might be, if you have some sort of message on your
headband, a la Jim McMahon, or
you can't that can't show.
Robert, we could fund an expansion team in baseball if they had a uniform code. Stuff like everybody's wearing baggy uniforms. Some people are wearing them up.
yeah.
Some people are wearing them down. Some people are going extra large.
I don't know. The
Guys like the
expansion
high
team I
socks.
just saw sold went for $610 million, so I'm not.
Ouch.
wait,
Who's
ouch.
that?
The Astros.
The expansion team. Was it that bad in your day, Greg? Because you played in the
They
generation
didn't care what we
before.
played, just hit each other.
I
And
mean,
get,
you didn't get
No,
fined
actually-
for that kind of stuff?
No. The funny thing was, is I can tell this now, since it was a generation ago. We had a deal with Converse.
Goodell cannot
our
still
whole
fine you.
offensive line.
Goodell cannot still fine you, Greg.
So we just spat them up. I'd wear Nikes and spat them up. And then we had a little Converse stencil. We'd draw the stencil
You
line
draw the
outside.
Converse line.
We were
Yeah,
wearing
that's another
Nikes,
thing.
but getting paid by Converse.
If you since I have a Nike deal, I couldn't spat my shoes and cover up the Nike.
What
if
is
you can.
spatting your shoes?
It's like wearing the tape
wearing
outside
the
your shoes.
taping over?
Oh,
unless you
gotcha,
have
okay.
a legit injury, like if you have an ankle injury, you can do it.
Right.
But you couldn't spat your shoes and cover up the Nike symbol. Now, if your shoes have a Nike, that's why the Nike symbol, like, so if you have your foot, that's why they put it right here by your toes,
by
so
the
that you
toes.
can spat, and you'll
And
start
you
the
still
Nike.
see the
that.
swoosh.
Yeah. No, it's serious. Like, they have guys at things, too, like, hey, you spatted 2 straight games, like, we're going to take away some of your merchandise money.
Wow. Jeff, is it the same way in hockey? I mean, do they police uniforms?
NHL is not. The bad thing about the American League is they signed a deal with Reebok. So all but 3 guys on the team have to use Reebok sticks. And, I mean, the only thing you're basically allowed to use other is skates, which, I mean, I can kind of see where they're coming from. The budgets are small here and everything. But to take away, I think, sticks one of the most important things in the game of hockey. And they've limited that to 3 guys per team, which some teams will say, we're not going to give it to anybody because we don't want to pay out of pocket. So, I mean, from that standpoint, Reebok, it's not great for the guys down here, but, I mean, as a company and everything for Reebok, it's perfect for them because they just want, I think it was like 85% of guys start in the American League and play in the NHL, so they're just trying to
You
get
get
their
used to your stick.
Yep, get it flooded
They're
up there
gonna
with
use it.
Reebok and try to get Easton out of there and
So
everything.
it's the same way in the NHL?
When you're in the
In
show,
NHL, you can use whatever you want.
when you're in the show, is
for
it just
anything.
like, is there just sticks all of it?
Oh, yeah,
Is
there's
it kind of
tons
like,
of
is it like baseball? Is it like Bull Durham?
Tons of bats
Man,
are
they get
laying
up there and the baseballs are pearl white.
Yeah.
You can have anything you want.
You know, you definitely get treated better. It's just like everything else. You know, the higher you move up, the easier it is. But yeah, there's definitely
But they
more of
won't-
your friends are looking for summer stock sticks and everything like that.
They won't fine you for like having your shirt tucked
Never.
in or untucked. Or
But here's the
Nothing.
thing, too,
Never
though,
like
and this
that.
is another reason why I like the NHL, is they're not trying to stand out. Like, part of me, too, in the NFL is like, if you get fined for something that you just did not realize, they'll give you a pass. They're like,
Yeah.
all right.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, as
You
long
get a
as you're
note
not,
from your
as
mom
long
or
as you're not, you can appeal it and you can say, hey, and the equipment guy will say, I gave it to him, he didn't know. If you wear the regulation stuff that they give you, you're not going to get fined. The guys that are getting fined aren't asking to get fined.
Yeah.
So in a way, like, I think it's stupid? Yes. But in the same time, it's like, quit trying to stand out. Quit trying to be different than everybody
Yeah.
else.
It is
That's
a-
the reason
They're the
get fined.
ones trying to
the
make a
thing-
name.
And the thing is, you don't see that in hockey. Like, they don't have those guys, and that's why it's so much fun to. A, the guys are so much fun to be around, but B, the teams. I think it's a lot more fun to watch because even the superstars, you'll never see them trying to stand out.
Well, they also police themselves on the ice as
Absolutely.
opposed to having the NFL step in and
Police themselves in the
slap
locker
guys on the
rooms
wrist.
too.
So the Saints down here threatening to score, trying to score again. I was going to say they should already be on the board, but this time, after that interception, the momentum seems like has changed twice already in this game. From the Saints failing to convert.
Am I the only one that
the
hates
fake
that
field
play
goal?
on the goal line?
The fade?
The fade?
Yeah.
I don't mind it when you have this
got
guy
a
who
basketball
got an
star.
8-inch.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm just saying, everybody runs it, and I feel like there's like 5 players in the whole NFL.
I'll tell you what I hate about the NFL right now.
Now,
You tell
3rd
me
and
if you
6
feel
right
this
there,
way.
I can see it.
When it's 3rd and 1 and 2nd and 1 and stuff, and everybody's throwing the ball, that just bugs me to death.
Yeah, I hear you. Ooh.
There's touchdown.
Lance Moore getting into the end zone, and the Saints are on the board. Oh, make sure he doesn't fall to the ground
There's
here.
a dance.
There's no props.
Who is that? Whose dance was that?
Lance Moore.
That was Lance Moore.
I don't know what.
I have no idea what that was.
It's a new invention. At least he didn't run over to the goalpost and get a pin out.
God, somebody on your team did the Carlton a couple weeks ago. Who did that? Was that Jacob? Somebody did the Carlton.
No,
What's the Carlton?
it was Ben Tate.
I'm glad you
was
asked
no
that because
tape.
I didn't know what the Carlton was
wanted-
either.
Show us, Matt.
I can't personally do it. Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, Alfonso Ribeiro does
Right.
the Carlton. It's like one of the... like he does, I can't
That's
do
pretty
it.
good.
No, do
Yeah.
that one more time.
Nah,
We'll have Matt performing by the end of the show after a little bit of lemonade once we get a little in him. Hey, right now it's time for our first one-on-one segment. Eric Winston sitting down, spending time one-on-one with Aeros Center Jeff Taffe. As we move the blocking sleds, get in place, let's take a look at a video of Jeff passing out season tickets while he was a member of the Pittsburgh Penguins.
How you doing, buddy? You want those? Hi. Hi. Jeff. Nice to meet you, too. How you doing, pal?
Come on. Show those to mommy.
Yeah. How you doing?
How are you?
Jeff,
Welcome.
nice to meet you.
Nice to see you. This is my dad.
How you doing? Jeff, nice to meet you, sir.
Okay.
You guys got everything in here, huh?
This isn't even happening. Let it,
Really?
Show me your books over here.
Yeah, what do you got?
If you don't mind.
Oh. Wow.
He lines them up on the steps.
Look at all this stuff, huh?
I was holding on.
Who are all these people? Who's that? Very good. How about him? The captain. How about Tim right here? Yeah. Hey, you put me underneath everybody. Yeah, you put me underneath everybody.
And who's that standing next to you?
Yeah. So now you're gonna have to put me on top. Put me on top of Sydney. Hi, Jeff. Nice to meet you too.
Kind of know who you are.
Very much appreciate it. All right. It was nice meeting you. All right. You guys out of here too? Okay. Thank you very much once again. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
All right.
Great season.
Thanks a lot.
Jeff Taffe for the Houston Aeros. Thanks for being here.
Yeah.
Thanks for going one-on-one.
Yeah.
Now, you're a American-born hockey player.
Yep.
From Minnesota.
Yeah.
How does that different? How is that? What are the challenges, I guess, of you would say American-born players versus your counterparts, the Canadian-born players, or even European-born players?
You know what? It's actually changed a lot. I think back about 10 years ago when I came into the league, there might have been maybe 2-3 Americans on each team, and it was pretty much filled with Canadians, probably about five Europeans. So I think it's really changed now that college hockey's gotten better. There's more opportunity for guys at Division I schools, getting more experience, and I think that's really transformed it. I mean, I think on our team down here we probably have, I'd say, at least half as U.S. guys.
Do you think technology has played a role in it with film sharing, computers, being able, people on maybe the borders, not maybe in Minnesota, but southern Wisconsin, those places of, hey, you know what, I want to play hockey instead of playing basketball or playing baseball or whatever it is. Has that helped? You see that some?
I think so. I think it's changed everything drastically. I think I've heard of even kids in high school now sending out recruiting videos of, they're taping themselves trying to get noticed by somebody, and it can't hurt. I mean, it obviously can't hurt.
There's a high school league in Dallas, I think, that still plays, that they still have a hockey league.
I think the majority of teams down here, like, they're high school kids, but I think they have to pay so much money just for the ice time and everything, and they travel a lot, which is probably tough. And I mean,
hasn't that always been the problem with hockey, I guess, a little bit, that the barrier of entry is so difficult, that it's so expensive to get all the pads? It's almost a little bit like football in the sense that you got to buy all the pads as a kid. You got to buy everything. Do you think that's kind of still a big problem?
I think it's huge. I mean, like you said, everything's really expensive, whether it's the pads or the ice time. And every year, obviously you're growing when you're a kid. You need new stuff every few years. So I think from that standpoint, it's tough for families that are kind of struggling, and that's maybe why, like, ice time down here is tough. But I think it's obviously growing a lot more in the southern United States. I know they're talking about expanding the American League out here. Some of the, NHL franchises out west are thriving now.
Now, so you've only been out here this year, right?
It's my first year out here.
Yeah. So your short experience already. Texas is I would think, a pretty good place for the AHL.
Yes.
Maybe not necessarily. I always go back and forth. I'm a big hockey fan.
Yep.
I've had a couple buddies that played up there, and I've just gotten into it, and so I watch a lot of it. And I go back and forth. I don't know if an NHL team could survive in Houston. I think there's so many people here. You got to think the sheer numbers would somehow support it.
Yeah.
I definitely think if it was the same thing as like a Dallas Stars situation where you got a franchise to come down here and they won the Stanley Cup in the first or second year, that always helps because it builds the fan base very rapidly. And
the Dallas thing is interesting because that was one of the best places to play probably about 6-7 years ago. It was packed every night. That was a place to be. And now that they're not winning so much anymore, it's gone downhill. And you look at some of those games, and it's half empty there.
Yeah.
This is a great place for, like you said, American League hockey, but people are paying $15, $20 a ticket, whereas NHL tickets you're looking at $85, $90.
There's so many cities around here that can support them. You go from here, you go to Austin, to San Antonio, to even down. I think there's one in Corpus Christi now. Is there down?
I think it's maybe a Central League or something like that.
Central League, okay.
Something,
So you got it. You got it. The awareness is building.
Yes.
And therefore, I think your attendance is going to go up.
Well, they do a good job with marketing everything nowadays down here to try to get families in there. And even Austin built a great rink, and they didn't overdo it. Seats 6,000-7,000 people, and it looks full every night.
Yeah.
It's
I went
great.
to game. I think it was Game 5 of the Calder Cup last year here. They had almost sold Toyota Center out.
I think Houston is probably the top few every year.
It was. It was impressive. You got in there and you said, "Wow, this is a big game." Even if you didn't know what you were going to, you had no idea what the Calder Cup was. You had no idea. You went in there and you said, "Man, this is a big." You could feel it, and that to me was pretty neat. I was happy for all the guys. I was happy for Houston to put something like that on. I thought that was pretty neat.
It's great. Like you said, I think every year they're in the top 5 for attendance, average maybe 8,000-9,000 a game. I'm sure at least.
Now, when you're Mr. Hockey in Minnesota, is that like being Mr. Basketball in Indiana?
Yeah. My wife was making fun of me for that the other day again too. Every time you look
at the trophy going by, like, that used to be me.
Yeah, but that's basically what it is. For we actually had a good high school team. 3 of my teammates played for Minnesota. With me, and any one of us could have won it that year. It's kind of one of those things where luck of the draw, basically.
So you've bounced around the NHL.
Yep.
You've played in the NHL every year since I think 2002, right? Mm-hmm. How's that been? Has it been obviously you always want the storybook, like I played 15 years for the same franchise and they're going to retire my number, but has there been some aspects of that I think you've grown to appreciate, that you've grown to like? Yeah,
it was tough for me because, I was a first-round draft pick. I'm thinking, I'll play the rest of my life in the National Hockey League. It's going to be so easy. So I was up and down my first few years, had a good year, and then the lockout hit. And that really affected my career. I got hurt playing in the American League during the lockout. Never really recovered for the next 2 years. I kind of bounced around. I wasn't really confident about my game, and it affected me, and it's kind of one of those things where I had to take a step back, had to realize, hey, you need to work a little bit harder, that type of thing. But I'm kind of at the stage now where I can still play in the NHL. I feel I can still contribute, but at the same time, I'm an older guy that, maybe needs to teach some of these guys some things on our team and work with them. I'm pretty easy going out there. So I think also I've been to a lot of places, and when you can start to pick your teams and where you want to play, it's a little bit better.
Now, is that a role you've taken on, I think, this year? Has it been something like, hey, I've been around the block, I know what's going on, you guys need to do this, you're not there yet? It's
been the last few years a little bit. It was really tough for me last year. I only played 1 game in Chicago, so I was in Rockford, Illinois most of the year, and my line mates were 19 years old. I was 29, and we had a really young team. I was the oldest guy there.
Did you hang out with Jason Krog at all?
I know who he is. He played for the Wolves.
Oh, he played for the Wolves.
Yeah, he's for the Wolves.
That's right. Rockford was there.
Yeah,
okay.
I know him. I know him. So it's kind of one of those things where it's a little bit easier this year, whereas you got some older guys on the team, and it's a little bit
We
easier.
had a couple of your
families.
fellow guys on here. They're good
great
guys.
guys.
Yeah,
They're
great guys.
So they're some of the older, easygoing, types that I like.
And people don't realize how much that matters too. Is not just how you mesh with the guys. It's how your family, how the wives mesh with each other.
Yep.
Exactly. That can make things easier or harder based on that.
It really can. That's one of the things where, I mean, you're with your, when you're not traveling, you're obviously with your wife and family the whole time, and you're with these other people a lot too. And if things aren't going well or people don't get along, it can be a little bit weird.
That's baseball, basketball, football, everything. I mean, it just makes the locker room dynamic that much harder. It makes everything harder.
Because you got to see that person every day, and things can get awkward sometimes.
All right, I ask, I guess, everyone this kind of when we're finishing up.
Okay.
Where do you see yourself, I guess, in 5 years, or just after hockey? What do you see? Is hockey still? Is that something you want to stay a part of, whether it's scouting or coaching, or is there something else going on that you want to be a part of when you're done with this?
I think it's given me so much playing hockey. Obviously, it's been my whole life for everything. So I'd like to say that I want to stay a part of it. Hopefully my wife gets some business things going, and it's hard because she's moved around with, for me for 10 years now, and it'll probably be 5, 6 more at least, like you're saying. And I'd like to stay in it. I think the college route would be good. I think I can do, one of my best friends is one of the assistants at Minnesota right now, and it would be great. But at the same time, I think there's a lot to be said about pro hockey. You get to deal with, you don't have to worry about kids going to school and things like that, where it's just, you worry about ins and outs of every day and 82-game schedule, which is, I think, quite a bit better.
Well, Jeff, I appreciate you taking the time. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thanks for having me out.
Wow.
Where are you guys digging this up from?
Wow, look at that.
Jeez.
Winston with Jeff Taffe, the Movember boys here with their handlebar mustaches. We've got the Giants on the board now as they get a field goal, at least get on the board. 7-3 Saints in front. We have a question from the crowd. We'd like to work these in as we go along. You can follow us at Thebus TV on Twitter. At the Bus TV is how you can get a hold of us. We'll have your questions mixed in along the way as the Saints-Giants game goes along. But question from the crowd today on the Heisman Trophy talk. There's nobody that's really set themselves apart from the field this year. Who do you think deserves the Heisman? Is it Trent Richardson? Is it Andrew Luck, who was, I guess, it was his trophy to lose up until a few weeks ago? Is it a guy like Case Keenum, who we see here at the University of Houston breaking all kinds of records, or Robert Griffin III? I mean, there's a number of guys that I think could make a strong case to win the Heisman this year.
I think the last three guys that you talked about, to me, are what should be the front runners at least. I think Andrew Luck, who I think is the front runner, and I think he's probably going to end up winning just by default. And I think it's going to go back to I think for whatever reason there's a little bit of a stigma on the Heisman Trophy, and people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think there is the fact that Peyton Manning was never a Heisman Trophy winner. I think in the fact that they've had so many busts in the NFL, you can say what you want, but I think people associated with the Heisman, they want they want that trophy to go to people who are going to at least be decent NFL players. They don't want any more Jason Whites. They don't want you to win the Heisman. And then not even.
Well, Tebow did win though.
Yeah, exactly. And then maybe be an H-back in 3 years, kind of a thing.
Well, Matt and I were talking before the show. It just seems like it's preordained that from the beginning of the season, Andrew Luck was going to win it. But in my book, Trent Richardson is the best player in college football right now. That guy is a running back that it takes 3 guys to bring him down.
He's a fantastic running back, and maybe he's hurt by the conference he plays in because the defenses are so good, but it doesn't seem to me like he's outdistanced himself from the rest of the field. Andrew Luck was the prohibitive favorite coming in this year. Everybody said if he comes back to school for another year, he's going to win the Heisman. He doesn't seem like he's taken the opportunity and established himself as a Heisman candidate winner.
Well, part of the problem is Stanford's really played in very few close games. They had a close game against USC. They got blown out by Oregon, and the rest of their games were essentially blowouts as well. So he hasn't had the quote-unquote Heisman moment. I mean, I almost bit my tongue off on Saturday when Vern Lundquist and Gary Danielson are talking about Richardson's Heisman moment on a 50-yard run during a blowout against Auburn. Really? That's your Heisman moment? And I really think the media has a huge part in dictating who's going to win the Heisman. They basically said on Saturday, if you don't vote for Andrew Luck or Trent Richardson, your vote doesn't count. That's essentially what they said, that those are the 2 guys that you have to vote for. And I just think, I mean, what do we want the Heisman Trophy to be? Do we want it to be the best player in college football? Do we want it to be the most valuable player in college football? Do we want it to be, I mean, how can you really have the best player in college football when legitimately the other side of the ball, the defense, never gets consideration? Because if you really want to talk about great players that make impactful plays, a guy like Tyrann Mathieu should be getting all sorts of consideration when you consider, and yeah, he had a little bit of a weed problem possibly, but
doesn't make him a bad player.
No, but in terms of impact players on the field, actual in games that matter, that guy's had as much of an impact as any. I just think if Robert Griffin was the starting quarterback at USC or Robert Griffin was the starting quarterback at Florida, you're not telling me he'd be right up there with those other guys?
That, to me, is the guy that's getting overlooked. With all due respect to the other guys.
David Maxwell, was that quarterback?
That doesn't mean anything.
Davey O'Brien, whatever. It was one of those David Jones. Was it David Jones from the Monkeys?
You can't combine trophies. You can't win 2 at the same time. It's hard that way.
I just feel the other guy too much.
Robert Griffin III, if anybody's had a Heisman moment, their win over Oklahoma was his Heisman moment. I mean, he led them to victory.
That pass at the end of the game was unbelievable.
Well, he had a couple of them in the first game there against TCU, too.
Yeah, I mean, this guy's had the most Heisman moments, but because it's Baylor, in some ways, like Case Keenum at U of H, people don't think of them as deserving the national spotlight that is the Heisman
Let me tell you, U of H was garbage last year without Case Keenum. They were a 5-7 football team. I want to talk about value to a team. This year, without Case Keenum, I don't know if they'd have a losing record, but they wouldn't be like they are this year. I mean, that guy single-handedly is making that school $18.5 million this year.
But should it be, you raised a good question, should it be the guy who has the best year?
You think Matt's a Houston fan?
And LSU. Should it be the guy who has the best year, or should it be the best pro prospect? Trent Richardson and Andrew Luck are the prospects.
I don't think the pro prospect does anything. I just said that because I really feel like that's been some of the push for Luck, is the fact that it might not be he had the best year, but it's going to almost be a lifetime achievement award kind of thing.
I think you can be the best college football player out there and not necessarily be a pro player.
See,
you can be the best at the college level and not be
I don't have a problem with Charlie Ward or Danny Warfel or Gino Toretta.
Maybe Warfel, I don't know, but Charlie Ward I had no problem with.
I don't have a problem with that. They're great college players. It doesn't matter to me one bit if they win a Heisman Trophy if they don't go on to succeed.
I would have loved to see Charlie Ward choose the NFL instead of the NBA. I think that would have been fascinating.
I'm telling you, I would have loved to see a couple of years ago. If you want to go by the best college football player, they would have given it to Sue. He would have won the Heisman Trophy.
Sure. I agree. I mean, and Charles Woodson won it, but it really was a lot about a couple of plays he made at wide receiver against Penn State and Ohio State and the kick returns.
Yeah, defensive players really. I mean, I know Charles Woodson.
Why do you think that is?
They don't get a chance.
But why can't? I mean, what was it when George Rogers won? Who was the guy from Pitt that came in second? Hugh Green or
linebacker. at Pitt.
Played with Hugh.
And there's been Andre Wadsworth sort of got close, and the linebacker from Florida State. Marvin
Jones.
Orlando
Jones.
Pace got close.
Andy Katzenmoyer.
You're right. Orlando Pace is an offensive lineman. Came in
He
fourth.
got close, right.
Andy Katzenmoyer, Warren Sapp, I think, was in the top 5. I think he was 5th, his year coming out. You're right. And like you said, I think the media has a lot to do with it. And the stats, when someone puts up 15 tackle for losses, no one knows if that's good or not. That's the problem. Is that no one knows is that good? Yeah, is that good or is that?
the people voting
sometimes
should know,
I don't
right?
even know how many TFLs is good. Is that a good season?
think
Anybody
really
could look
know.
at Sue when he came out that year and said
Just know
that
he's
was the
dominant. You're right.
most dominant player in college
And that's the
football.
thing
Like
is,
when Orlando Pace came in.
You don't
fourth.
even need to see stats.
Right.
I think that kind of depends on what's a stats. Well, you don't need to. Just watch them.
Watch this
you
guy,
just
yeah.
watch the guy.
Oh, I think the numbers are so out of control in college football that people are desensitized to stats. You mentioned Trent Richardson. Numbers-wise, Monty Ball at Wisconsin is dwarfing him.
I wouldn't say dwarfing him, but there are better.
He's got 1,600 yards and 34 touchdowns. 34
That's an
touchdowns.
insane
Think
number.
about that for a second. And it's not like he plays in a conference where they're not.
What was the numbers Toby
they're not
Gerhardt
facing
put up?
anybody.
I mean, he had
sure.
unbelievable numbers and wasn't even in the talk, really. I mean, he was.
Came in third, I think.
It's almost like you have to be if Andrew Luck wins this year, it's going to be where you have to be anointed before the year that you're a favorite. Even if Luck was supposed to be the guy coming into the year, but Trent Richardson was in the conversation.
Let me ask you this. Do you think West or East Coast or any of those have a better chance because of where they play? To me, I always feel like West Coast guys have a better chance to win it.
See, I think it's the opposite.
For two reasons. Well, and this is what I've noticed, is that when you're on the West Coast, they're very territorial. Like the West Coast always feels like they're getting shafted by the East Coast. So they're always, the writers for the West Coast and the voters always stay with whatever the West Coast. Whoever the best player on the West Coast, whether it's Luck, whether it's they all kind of get together and they all say, we're voting for this guy. And if you watch, all the votes will go there. I feel like the East Coast people look at it and say, you know what, I think that guy's the best player. Or I think they look at it more of how the voting should be and say, hey, I think this guy is the best player, and I'm going to vote for him.
Well, I agree the voting's territorial, but I think the East Coast writers are so tradition-bound that they just like to think, we have been here so long, you guys are the upstarts, and we're going to decide, and it's one of these, they're going to pick Notre Dame, Penn State. You name those top, a lot of votes are going to go to those places. Now, not this year, of course, but I've always thought the East Coast really swayed the
I think the
Heisman.
West Coast guys get hurt by the later games. 9 o'clock
That's a
games
factor.
don't
It's
get
definitely
seen.
a
by
factor.
The later
people on the
games,
East
but I think you're seeing now, and I think in the last 5 to 6 years, those Stanfords, those Oregons, though, they're getting the primetime.
They are
games
moving
now.
them up.
They'll start at 6 so they can play the 9 o'clock Eastern slot.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's that. I don't
But how
think
many-
that's as much of a factor.
How many Oregon and USC games have we seen this year?
ABC's been carrying a lot of
in
them
the afternoon.
because ESPN and CBS has the SEC locked up.
Yeah.
So ABC's got to carry somebody. They've been carrying. Oregon's a fun team to watch. Stanford's a fun team to watch for viewership. So to me, they've been carrying a lot of USC. They've been carrying a lot of those games. My thing for the Heisman is I feel like there's too many voters.
Yeah.
I think the award. It's almost like name your kind of popular. Whoever has a vote. Like, why does he have a vote? Like, it should be 200 writers across the country.
I think there's too
people
many
don't realize there's like
voters without knowledge.
2,200 voters.
There's a ridiculous number of voters, and one advertiser with the NCAA this year is giving away a Heisman vote.
Oh, fans get to vote.
Right.
Yeah, it's
Somebody gets
Why can't you have
to
a
enter
coach
in
involved?
to vote.
Get the coaches involved. They're the ones that see the players every week
Absolutely.
and know a lot more than obviously some writers that watch some games from at home.
Should the coaches vote, or would they show bias toward their
I don't know.
players?
I don't.
to.
I
Yeah,
just.
you
I mean,
probably have to.
what is it? The SIDs end up voting for the coaches on the coaches poll anyway.
Or the
half
ball
time.
boy or something.
Can you really?
Well, I just feel like you should have. I feel like there's 100, maybe 200 writers and columnists and people that watch a lot of college football around the country, and I feel like they have a very good pulse on who is doing what everywhere, and they've seen every single game of every single player. I just don't feel like when you have 2,000 voters, it's really a fair thing going on.
You know what I think part of it is, though, and I've seen it locally here because the Lombardi Award is here, too, and I get sent stuff all the time. I mean, I haven't voted on the Lombardi in forever, and they send me stuff like almost begging, please vote, please vote. I think part of it is they kind of feel like from a media standpoint, if you get somebody to vote, they're going to talk about it, they're going to write about it, so it's going to give it they're hoping for the exposure.
Listen, I'm not even saying the media is wrong. I mean, I feel like, well, no, I'm just talking about not for being able to vote. I'd rather have, and I don't know if he does vote, he might have a vote. Every single person on game day, I think, could have a vote. Like, what's wrong with those guys? What's wrong with Kirk Herbstreit having a vote?
I think
what's wrong
they do.
with Chris Fowler having a vote? What's wrong with Lee Kurtz?
They probably do.
I feel like
don't know
those
about
guys.
Corso.
I feel like those guys have much more knowledge than half the guys that have votes. I mean, you just see, like you said, if you're willing to give your vote away, I think that's the height of just that just aggravates me because I know how much those guys are working to try to get something like this.
I think
for it to be kind of
the approach. I don't necessarily have a problem with spreading it out among a lot of people because I think that dilutes the pool, and so you don't get one writer. Like the baseball writers have just a very limited number of voters for each award, and you have guys voting on. They voted. 2 writers lost their credentials because they voted on guys for the Rookie of the Year that were not eligible for Rookie of the Year.
Good.
I mean,
there should be some accountability, though.
It would be nice to have a football knowledge
little
SAT test you had to take before you could vote. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I mean, you're just going to go by
who
stats
is the
alone.
quarterback at
I think
Baylor.
that pool though is too limited. I think the baseball pool's too limited.
It is.
They don't let
That's
the
what I'm saying.
broadcasters vote.
The more you spread it out, I think you're more likely to get the best player. If you spread it out among a large number of people, it's just the same way as our electoral system works. If you keep it to a limited number of people selecting the president or the whatever you're voting on, the chance of 2 or 3 of them getting together and voting one way is going to skew things, as opposed to if you spread it out among the entire population.
No, you said it right. It's going to screw things. That's what you meant to say. Yeah, exactly.
Let's just go American Idol on it. Put the 6 guys up there. Let America decide.
Yeah, hey, that's what you do.
Let Paula Abdul decide the Heisman winner. What are we talking about?
You can do it. You can do it on your talk show.
Tell me what I think here. I don't know what to
Matt
think.
Barkley is dreadful.
Your
just
Lombardi
simply
vote.
Dreadful.
Your Lombardi vote could go. You could have a poll in the air.
Exactly.
People call in and.
That last block was rubbish.
These are 2 high-powered offenses here, the Saints and the Giants. We got 10 points so far midway through the second quarter.
I'm going to go along with the Saints being a high-powered offense. I'm not so sure anybody would say
Eli's
the
had
Giants.
That happens
best
sometimes.
year since
You would have
probably the Super Bowl.
Thanksgiving, I would have sworn Green Bay Detroit was going to be a shootout. It was like 7-0 at halftime, and Detroit really never got on track.
They didn't quite get that 10.5 over in the first quarter, did they?
No, they didn't. No, that was unfortunate to say the least.
It's funny that I saw that tweet of yours. He sent a tweet out. There's a prop bet that was over 10.5 points.
It's like, this is a sucker bet, right?
And he's saying it has to be. But if you think about it, how many possessions are going to have in the third quarter?
Right.
Or in the first quarter? 3, 4. So that means that they'd have to score on every single possession. At least, you'd have to have 2 touchdowns apiece, or 2 touchdowns combined to get over. Even if you had a touchdown drive and then a field goal drive, you wouldn't quite get there.
Oh, I know.
But the over-under on that game was 53, so people were expecting them to. The Vegas side was.
I just thought Green Bay is a machine right now on offense, and Detroit's secondary is kind of sketchy.
Mm-hmm.
I tell you what, I'm an Aaron Rodgers fan, but what I saw Tom Brady do yesterday was surgical. And if he had the receivers that Aaron Rodgers had, no telling what numbers that guy.
He did in 08. And he
I'm talking about
numbers.
right now, though. He's throwing to 2 tight ends that nobody's heard about till this year, last year. He's got Deion Branch, whose best year was like 4 years ago, and he's made Wes Welker the best receiver in the game. I mean, Tom Brady's just magical this year.
Yeah, he has no chance at the MVP either. 0.
It's Rodgers, hands down.
And
no
you're right,
chance.
Brady has been awesome, and I think Brady's the one that's on pace to break Marino's single season. Or is it Breeze?
Breeze is on pace. Well, they're all on pace, but
Several guys.
Breeze is the one out in front, and Breeze is the one because most people think that Rodgers is eventually going to start getting pulled from some of these games.
Yeah, they're going to rest their guys.
Yeah, and Brady is going to start getting pulled for some of these games.
Well, you look at Aaron
Breeze is
Rodgers
gonna
right now, who has a
keep playing.
chance to break the quarterback rating. He's like at 128 point something. If he were to go out and throw 50 straight incomplete passes, his quarterback rating drops to 112. That's the kind of season he's having.
I know we all think the quarterback rating is so ridiculous because nobody knows the formula. But how ridiculous was it for ESPN to try to create the Dilfer factor, the Dilfer rating? Do we really need it? Do we really need to know exactly what that number is? We've already been programmed to know that 106 is a good rating and 79 is terrible. Do I have to relearn this all over again?
I think it was actually a noble effort to have a more accurate rating because when you look at some of those ratings nowadays, guys who aren't as good as other guys end up having higher ratings because they fit the formula better. I like the idea, but there's no way people are going to change their thing. That'd be like, reinventing earned run average in baseball.
I was just going to say, I can say that. Tebow,
2 of 6, 80-something yards, a touchdown, rating of 101.
Oh, was he 101? I knew he was
Brady, 26 of 39, 3 touchdowns.
1 pick.
102.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the problem with the rating right there.
Did you know they have one of these sabermetric football stats now? The number that they define as, I guess, as being average or being replacement level player. Do you know what it's called? They call it Kubiak.
The Kubiak.
I swear to God.
But it's an
Kubiak.
acronym, though. It's the K stands for something.
I just like the fact that there's Kubiak in there. I think that's phenomenal.
I was going to say, what was he right on the
Mendoza line? Yeah, if there was a Mendoza line in football. Hey, let's get to another question off the Twitter feed. This is from Gregory in Rochelle. We were talking about the Lions-Packers game from Thanksgiving. What punishment does Ndamukong Suh deserve for trying to stomp on a Packers lineman? I think he lost his balance, though.
I know that Goodell's going to, put the NFL police in place and make sure that he sets an example, and I think he's going to get 2 games. I'm not so sure that warrants 2 games. I mean, I like it, like you were talking about earlier, when the players police themselves.
But I just saw this the other day. I was watching part of it. I mean, I just saw what happened and stuff, but this guy's been in a lot of trouble before. Teammates don't like him, from what I've heard a few people say. Like, when's enough? I know you're getting paid a ton of money, but I mean, it's just embarrassing. Especially when he kicks him and says, "I was trying to fall." I mean, come on, nobody in the U.S. buys that.
Yeah, come on. He ought to be added an additional game suspension for the lame excuse.
Well, do you guys ever think that this persona has been created for him, and now he almost feels like he has to live up to that persona?
I don't know. From what I hear, he kind of had a reputation in Nebraska too. That in practice, like he's hurting his own teammates. He's got some anger management issues.
He's got fantastic ability.
He's in the right sport.
He's a monster.
I just think you can be rough and you can be nasty and you can do all those things at defensive tackle without being an idiot.
Right.
And I think he
he hurt his team.
Yeah, and I just think he goes over the edge, and I don't really feel like anything he's done up to this point though has been that dirty or
throwing
anything.
Quarterbacks to the ground late. I mean.
Some of the stuff he's done. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Right. I don't really.
Well, those Jacksonville guys think you're dirty.
I know exactly. So
you need to play like that.
Yeah,
I mean,
and that's the thing. Until now, but it's almost like you said. I think Matt touched on this. He's almost like he's trying to live up to it now. Like, I got to raise the bar for myself. I got to stomp a guy today.
But there's so many cameras.
Yeah,
he knows he's going to get caught.
Yeah, it's just ridiculous.
What are you
thinking? That happens in every. Hunter S. Thompson got that Gonzo label on him, and so. He was a pretty good writer at one time, but then he thought that he had to be this. Like Chris Farley's another guy who thought he had to party all the time because that was the persona people perceived him to be. So he tried to be what everybody wanted to be, and it really wasn't anything like he was, although baby Hunter S. Thompson was exactly like that.
I honestly think Sue's going to get 1 game, and he's going to get 1 game, plus obviously he's already been suspended for a half.
He got kicked out of the game, right.
So I think he's going to get 1 game, possibly, or he's going to face a big fine.
Albert Hainsworth got suspended for 5 games by his own team when he stepped on Andre Giroud's head.
That was a different thing.
Helmet.
They were in a fight. He was in a helmet. He looked at him, saw he didn't have a helmet on, and then face stomped him right in the forehead, causing stitches. I mean, to me, that was a little bit of a different. I don't know. I felt like that was a lot different.
I wasn't all that offended by the Sue deal. I mean, I guess when you play, it's a little bit different, but everybody got all up in arms, and I think he should have got ejected, which he did, but I don't know about suspending guys and hurting their playoff chances. I mean, it was a dumb thing to do, and like you said, he's got that reputation right now, but he needs to play more under control. But he called and apologized to Roger, so it's everything.
You want to hurt guys? Make them play for free.
What do you mean?
Make them play for free.
Dock him a game check and let him play?
That will hurt you.
Yeah, right? I mean, going out there, wait a minute. I got to do all this and I don't get any money to do it? Yeah, or dock him even more and then let him play. I'll tell you what, that'll get guys attention. What's his game check? I think it's $82,000. I think it's his game check.
That's it? It's a shame.
Dock him 100.
Only $82,000? They could,
yeah, but it's a whole 7 days a week of work, Robert.
those guys only work on Sunday,
Robert,
right?
it's not just Sunday.
It's like my preacher. He works 1 day a week. And, I'm
You
like,
get
where do I
Tuesdays
get a
off.
job like
It's okay, 6 days. You get Tuesdays off.
Who was the dirtiest?
You don't want to start in on that.
Yeah. Who was the dirtiest defensive lineman you faced?
When I was young, it was Claude Humphrey, without a doubt.
Eagles?
I mean, you'd have scratches down your neck. And the bad thing was, I played him when I was a rookie, and he would be talking to you. And while the snap count, he goes, "Hey, rookie, you don't remember the snap count." And I'd be listening to him, but I wouldn't remember the snap count. So, yeah, he was the dirtiest guy. And then there were some other ones. I mean, Ricky Jackson walked by, and I was at the bottom of a pile, and he saw my
Yeah, for the
hands.
Saints?
And he's for the Saints, yeah. And he stepped right on my hand. But, you know, I chased him to the sideline. I said, "Look, keep your head on a swivel. I'll look you up in the offseason, but you're not doing that again." And so we figured it out right then.
Jeremy Mincy drove Matt Leinart into the turf in Jacksonville. Was that? Did any of you guys think that was payback for the
No,
dirty play of the Texans against the Jaguars?
I didn't think so.
Every defensive lineman in the league is going to try to drive a quarterback in legally like that.
Kind of lifted him up, aimed him, and then drove him in.
Yeah, I thought he landed right on top of him. I was surprised.
Thought he might get flagged.
I was surprised at the flags a little bit in that game from the standpoint.
Saints with another touchdown.
The flags that we got called
Jimmy Graham
on
with
and the
a dunk.
flags that they didn't get called on a few
Right.
times.
Some of the flags you guys got called on were ridiculous, I
Yeah,
thought.
like especially Brooks Reed. I think it was Brooks Reed. Was it Brooks Reed or JJ?
JJ, when he hit him low and he
Was that
still
the
had the
one?
ball in his hand,
Well,
I mean, he's a
the
runner.
ball in a hand, and well, is it a run? You can't aim low for a
That
guy.
was the Brady
But as long
rule.
as you're being, he was clearly shoved into him.
Right. But the other thing, too, is when the quarterback has possession of the ball, he's just like a running back.
Okay.
So, I mean, you can't put a dress on the guy. You got to be able to
Yeah.
tackle the guy. I mean, if he doesn't have it, you can't hit him low then. But I understand that. But I thought that call was ridiculous.
But you have to tackle him between the armpits and the skirt.
There's a little square right at the sternum. That's the only place you can hit him.
There were a couple of calls in that game. The intentional grounding where the quarterback threw it out of the end zone. Was that Yates? I'm trying to remember at what point
he
that
threw
was.
it right down the middle of
Yeah.
the field instead of.
Am I wrong, or did they
Just
used to
into the
allow
right.
that? You could throw the ball back in the,
Sure.
10 years ago, you could throw the ball out of the end zone, and they'd never call intentional grounding.
I don't think if you're still in the pocket, you could do it that way. I think if he had it toward any type of receiver, but there was no receiver in the vicinity.
Yeah, I was.
Did you see the intentional grounding at the end of the Oakland-Chicago game yesterday?
So the
Caleb
highlight
Haney?
of it.
Yeah, Caleb Payne,
Yeah.
he's got it at midfield, right? And I don't know what he was thinking. He couldn't decide if he wanted to spike the football or do the Dan Marino fake spike.
That's right. Yeah.
So he snaps the ball, and he waits a beat to see what his wide receiver on the left does, and then he clocks it, and they call intentional grounding to do a 10-second runoff, and the game's over.
Game's over.
Oh, my buddy was losing it. I'm a Chicago fan. I wouldn't watch with him yesterday.
Did he know when it happened that it was?
He was sitting. We were out, at the bar or whatever, and he's just sitting there so intensely watching this game, and I just don't get it. He's getting so upset. I'm like, you're not the GM here. There's nothing you can do. You're not playing, and he takes it so seriously. But yeah, he was just he was just distraught.
They
The rest
lost.
of
They
the night,
lost
went
by
home.
5, and he threw 4 picks. He threw,
Yeah.
especially that big one that got returned from Wembley. I mean, that's the little stuff when you're playing those kind of quarterbacks and stuff that you got to manage those kind of things, and you got to know that they're okay with the calls you put in there.
Well, especially, I don't know what a boost to the backside it was to him when they were trying to get after Kyle Orton. You're our guy, but man, please let's sign Kyle Orton real quick. And then you do that, it doesn't really help your cause much.
Right.
But he taught everybody in the NFL what the emergency quarterback rule was last year.
That's
They did.
good.
Yeah, they did. I can't believe they did what they did, but I guess Collins was hurt too at that
Right.
time.
Yeah, they both got hurt.
People didn't realize Collins was hurt at
Once
the
you
time.
went in, he couldn't come out.
Yeah.
Right.
How bad did Caleb Haney look? I didn't catch.
I thought he actually looked okay.
I didn't see.
Raiders
he had some picks.
Raiders
but-
played pretty well.
Yeah.
Raiders defense played. I've never seen a game dominated by 2 kickers the way the Raiders did. It wasn't just. Janikowski hit the 6 field goals.
He never
Shane
misses.
Leckler an 80-yard punt, and then the last punt where Devin Hester's hoping to set up obviously a typical return for him, and Leckler kicks the perfect punt. It bounces maybe the 10-yard line and goes out of bounds there at the 3. I mean, we don't have a punter in the Hall of Fame yet, and I don't know what y'all's thoughts are on whether a punter should be in the Hall.
I think Ray Guy should be in.
He was the
Really?
best
He's a
yet.
player. Why should-
Is
should be.
Leckler better than Ray?
You know, he's
Guy?
like 67th.
He's
net punting, right?
He was a weapon. I mean, he was. I mean, I think the only kicker is Stenerud?
Yeah.
Anybody else in right now? I think Stenerud's the only one.
Stenner is the only one in. Vinatieri's going to get in.
because of all his clutch game-winning kicks.
Morton Anderson's got to get in.
You make a case for Morton Anderson. You make a case for Gary Anderson. But to me, I mean, Leckler's got to be a lock, right? This guy is. If you're going to put a punter in, I guess Steve Tasker is a finalist this year.
Not a finalist, semifinalist.
Semifinalist.
What about
They'll trim it down a bit
Janikowski?
more.
He's a weapon too.
Yeah, especially if you have a date.
It's brutal in here.
6 field goals for Janikowski. Leckler, I mean, that puts a whole other meaning to kick it away from Hester. You boot it 80 yards. They were punting from their own 20, and he punted a touchback.
That brings
I've
up
never
another
seen that
interesting
happen.
question. Has Patrick Peterson surpassed Devin Hester as the best kickoff or punt returner in the league?
Good point. Was that the 4th return
Fourth,
this
yeah.
year
Set a record.
for him?
No.
Is there another Devin Hester in the league, though? I mean, Peterson, he's just
No
a
one-
rookie.
Hey, he could still be playing for LSU. How scary would that secondary be then?
Now
Yeah.
he might be on the bench too. Claiborne is.
Claiborne's awesome. Matthew or whatever,
Yeah.
however you pronounce that's awesome.
The Honey Badger?
The honey badger. Ooh, what's that? A snake? Have you ever seen the honey badger, the YouTube thing? Yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, it's the 2-minute warning here in the first half between the Giants and the Saints. As we're at the 2-minute warning, it's a chance for you to check out Billiard Factory's website, www.billiardfactory.com. In less time than it takes these two coaching staffs to make their halftime adjustments, you too can design your very own man cave, just like the one we have here on Not Your Ordinary Sports Show. We're at the Billiard Factory location in Northwest Houston. You can build your own man cave at billiardfactory.com. That's billiardfactory.com. And we're glad that they're hosting us here tonight on this Monday night. Usually we're sitting in a very similar setup in our own studio. If you can't tell, we're actually out at the Billiard Factory location, Champions area on FM 1960 in Houston. You can shop all their great stuff at billiardfactory.com. In fact, I believe at halftime we're going to have a little foosball competition here between
I just want to let everyone
you
know I'm
guys.
really bad at it.
I've never played it sober, so I'm not going to do that.
We can fix that.
Yeah, exactly.
I always like the old. You remember the old USA Russia like bubble hockey games they had?
Oh, yeah.
those were the best. You could like boo the anthem to get the puck to drop up, and for some reason I always played as Russia. I don't know why. I think because I was too young
Tommy.
when Lake Placid was around, so I didn't. But man, that was.
You're gonna love
Hey,
this.
Vladimir.
My wife actually, her uncle is Wayne Gretzky. So
Is that right?
yeah, so
Your
we
wife's
basically
uncle.
got-
Your wife's
Yeah,
uncle's Wayne
her
Gretzky?
mom and Janet are sisters.
Wow.
So uncle-in-law. I don't know what happened there, but so basically we got the he's got the Bud Light sponsor though, so it's not the U.S. Russia. It's all Bud Light ones. So we got one up at our place in Minnesota.
Really good.
Yeah, it's pretty
Awesome.
fun. My buddies come over and they just play it all night.
Absolutely.
Well, living in Green Bay for 10 years and Minnesota for a year, you learn all the indoor
Yeah.
Olympics.
I'm eyeing up these shuffleboard tables right now. I could use one of those.
Curling? You ever curl?
No, that's
No?
a Canadian thing.
Well, you know, it's
Oh,
up
there's
north.
a lot of curling
Texas,
clubs in
it's
Green
all up
Bay. I can
north.
tell you
I
that.
love curling.
Oh, I'm fascinated by curling.
Love watching curling. I'll sit there and watch a whole.
I can see you with a broom, the big sweeper in front
Very
of
hard! Whoa, I just think it's like the craziest thing. I can see how you
It
guys
is.
sit there too and just get absolutely bombed watching it.
I think you
You'd
just,
have to.
I think you just did the Carlton.
Absolutely bombed.
I think you just did the Carlton.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it wrong to do that when you're playing shuffleboard too? Because I'll be like, right.
Go.
There's no indoor Olympics in Green Bay where you're not hammered. I can promise you.
And how bad does it have to be to go ice fishing? We have relatives in Minnesota, and they go ice fishing.
When I was with the Vikings, Tim Irwin called me at about
Yeah.
4 in the morning one time, and I said, "What are you doing? Wake me up." He goes, "It's 70 below. Let's go ice fishing." I go, "Dude, do you not know I'm from Houston, Texas? It's 70 below, and you want me to go out on a truck on a lake?"
It's not
No.
for me. I don't get it. But my uncle is from northern Minnesota.
Uncle Wayne?
No, not
Uncle
him.
Wayne.
He's not going to be involved in this one.
Oh, Uncle Wayne, huh?
They, but nowadays it's like huge trailers. I mean, flat screen
Oh, yeah.
TVs in
I've heard
there.
they
I
put
mean,
it in
it's like a
satellite dishes.
hotel.
Yeah.
And a lot of peach schnapps.
Yeah. You don't.
Hey, you got to stay warm somehow, right?
Not how it used to be.
Watching the flat screen, waiting for the little thing to pop up. Oh, I got me a big sturgeon, eh?
You must really hate your wife to go sit out.
Oh, we really give her. We ride the
Frozen
machines to
pie.
taverns. First time I was up there, this guy goes, "Oh, I get all pissed up last night. I spent all day at the bubbler." I said, "What? Do you speak English?" He goes, "It means I got drunk. I spent all day at the water fountain." The bubbler is the water fountain. I had to learn a whole new Wisconsinite language. Cheeseheads.
Giants making a little drive here at the end of the half.
Did they threw a flag here at the end?
You watch.
He's out of bounds, guys.
Watch. Yep, and the horse collar.
On the horse collar.
Oh, he had him from behind. I got you.
There was a horse. Where was the game yesterday where the defensive or the offensive lineman?
The Oakland
his
game.
jersey.
It was his
What did you
He
think
got the
about that?
jersey.
I mean, you're not. I
Well,
guess
of course
that's
it was a horse collar, but he
right.
had,
But
he had to do it.
if your right guard is running 80 yards down the field to make a play to pull it, I almost feel like he should get the
He should get the benefit of the doubt.
right. I mean,
I'm just glad they don't consider pulling people's hair a horse collar. That's,
I don't remember what game it was.
I was
That
so
was the
hungry.
first time I saw it was on Thanksgiving
Torrey
Day.
Smith.
Yeah, it was Torrey
no,
Smith.
it was the week before Thanksgiving.
Somebody
No, I
got it
thought it was
yesterday
during
too. I
Thanksgiving.
thought.
They said
Might have
horse
been a
collar.
while
No, he
ago.
grabbed the hair. That was the first time I'd seen the
Torrey
hair.
Smith
I
when they were
thought
playing.
you're allowed to tackle the hair.
You
You
are.
are.
That's what I'm saying.
they
The
flagged. They
original call was-
initially flagged, and then they got together and said, "No, that's the hair.
I'd
You
target
got to
that
let him
for
go."
sure.
Target the hair?
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
why not?
Who was it? Was it Torrey Smith? Is that who got taken down by the hair
Yeah, it was
the other
Torrey
night?
Smith against.
Best one ever was Larry Johnson on was it Palomalu?
Yeah.
Oh, after an interception?
Oh my God! I mean, that enough. Getting yanked once, you think would be enough to make you get a haircut? You would think.
Yeah, I don't.
Yeah, until
don't
you saw
get
those
that.
shampoo endorsements come in.
That's right.
That's true. How do those shampoo endorsements work out for you?
I don't get anything anymore. Didn't you see my high school video though?
Yeah, it was pretty strong.
Sweet mullet.
Prel.
So you and Uncle Wayne were making about the same money when you played?
Oh yeah, just about the same type. Yeah. Wouldn't that be nice?
Does he?
My wife
does
says
he-
that to me every day. You know,
Are you the only one
When are
with
you
a-
going to make more money?
Are you the only one
I
in
don't
this
think so.
family that?
Mine says that too. I don't
You the
play
only one
hockey.
that? I guess that family right there that's playing.
Well, yeah, I'm such an outsider from there. He was actually my coach when I was playing out in Phoenix. So it's,
Really?
Yeah, that's right when we started
That's
dating and
right.
stuff, and it was kind of awkward. So then he traded me out to the Rangers.
I
Like, beat it.
Beat it.
So
Beat it.
ever since then, I don't really visit California too often.
His kid's a quarterback. His
Well,
kid. His
the one
kid.
just signed with the Cubs.
Well, he had a kid. Will Smith's kid
Yeah.
and Montana's kid all played on the same high school team. It was like
Yep.
De La Salle or one of those big ones,
Calabasas.
or
Somewhere
one of
around
the big
Calabasas.
ones. And that's got to be. Can you imagine that? Go to the parents' meeting and
They built their own
Montana,
luxury
Will
box.
Smith, and
They built their own
Wayne
luxury
Gretzky
box.
show up.
I mean, it's a different world out there. I mean, it's crazy. But yeah, the one just signed with the Cubs. I think it's Trevor, and he'll be starting on whatever their single A is down in Peoria or something this year. But good baseball player.
He's
yeah,
a really
for
good
sure.
golfer.
That's the one
Gretzky,
that's
right?
Yeah, he's good. He's probably like plays probably about a 4, 6, somewhere in there. Good player.
Does he have the Happy Gilmore swing down? Is that?
I mean, no, not so much.
He's
I mean,
got
he
his
was on
own,
that
like,
course in
classic.
Sherwood.
Nobody has punched out Bob Barker.
I thought Gretzky always had somebody else do the punching for him.
I just don't. I think that was the
Yeah.
team mantra. Nobody touches Uncle Wayne.
Nobody
That was back
touches
when
him,
you-
and we're gonna make a lot of money off of him.
Right.
That's
Yeah.
back when you could enforce, though, right?
Yeah, they had some. They had some
didn't
tough
have-
Marty
teams up at
McSorley's whole
McSorley.
career is.
He was. I really enjoyed Marty. Wayne actually hired him to coach the minor league team out in Springfield, and so he was my first professional coach ever, Marty McSorley, and it was a treat. It was after that whole stick incident when he hit Brashear in Boston, and
Has the
refs
league
ma-
sent you guys much information with all the enforcers that have been, committing suicide?
They
and
brought it up. They bring up substance abuse things at the beginning of the year, but their main thing now is just the headshots and the
Headshots.
concussions. That's all they care about. That's all it is. That's all they talk about now. The other stuff's
Because
kind
they're
of on the
liable
back
now.
burner.
That's what people don't want to talk about. They're liable now. All the science is finally back. Back in the day, you could act, well,
Yep.
maybe not. But now you can't say that anymore. Now these leagues are liable for it.
Oh, it's
That's why all the. That's why
Well, it's all the
these-
concussions, and you're not feeling great all the time, and that's probably when all their pills start to come in and just adds
I was
up
talking
and
to
adds
Lynn
up.
Barney, an all-pro defensive back for the Lions, and he said that he was knocked out in the game one time for 11 minutes. He was
Jesus.
unconscious. And he came to, and they took him to the sideline, and they asked him 3 questions. Do you know your name? Do you know where you are, and do you know what team you're in? If you got 2 out of the 3, you can go back
You're fine.
He was out for 11 minutes.
You ever been knocked out on the ice?
You know what? I have a few times, but it was all early in my career. So we were talking, like you said, 10 years ago or when I was in college, that you don't think anything of it. You go out there, you play, you go home, you have a few beers, and, you're fine the next day. It's not a big deal. But
see, the problem is he asked you if you ever had head lice. So.
It was all early.
I won't admit that one.
He still had hair.
Same answer. It was early in my career. It wasn't big back then.
But it's changed so much nowadays with all, like you said, all the medical breakthroughs and everything. It's just, you got to be so careful with it because you only play for so many years, but figure how many you got left after. It's just, it's not worth it anymore.
Do you know guys who are still dealing with concussion symptoms?
Yeah, I had one that got hit a year and a half ago. He hasn't played a game since.
Really?
Yeah, it's just one of those deals where he still feels dizzy, and he's just had 2 little kids. Still feels dizzy, still feels sick, and they're trying to figure it out. One of my other friends had to quit because his whole equilibrium got thrown off, and just had to retire.
See, I respect that about hockey players as well. Is that, and this is something that we got to get over in the NFL, is that these head injuries you can't mess around with them.
No.
And
you'll play through anything else.
That's the thing is, Sidney Crosby, the biggest name in the whole NHL, and since probably Gretzky, he's got a head injury and he sits out 10 months and no one questions him. No one should, but no one questions him. No one questions his toughness. But I guarantee you, if that was an NFL player, everybody would be questioning his toughness.
Yeah,
everybody would, and that's the thing is, to me, is things aren't going to get better. I mean, we can put in a lot of these restrictions, and things will get better, but things aren't going to make a big jump for us until we realize what's going on. Until we realize that you can't mess around with this stuff. You can't not say, and I get so upset at guys when they say, hey, don't just say it's an eye injury. Don't tell. I'm like, no, tell them that your head hurts. Don't hide it. It's so ridiculous that, you see.
But I mean,
that.
our team's willing to get rid of guys because of that. Whereas hockey, all the contracts are guaranteed. Sure. You're going to get paid no matter what. Yeah. Maybe if it is your last year in your deal, you're going to want to start playing a little bit more, and you'll push it.
Yeah.
So I think that's a lot different.
Like in the NFL, and I'm sure it used to be the same way in hockey, but it was more of a, how are my teammates going to look at me?
Exactly.
Am I not tough enough? I'm not going right back into the game.
Yep.
And that was, it's like he said, that's just something you got to overcome, because even if you have a long career in the NFL and you retire when you're 33, 34, you got 40, 50 years left in your life you got to live.
You hope.
You hope, right.
You hope. That's the sad part.
Do you know any current guys that have been approached? I don't know if it's just retirees, but any current guys that have been approached about donating their brains to?
Yeah,
I have.
Have you?
I've donated mine to the Boston University.
I have.
When do you get it back?
Wow. Do we have an orthodontist? Robert Henslee?
Is this thing on? Hello? Is this?
Have they ever actually found
We got jokes in here.
a microphone on a colonoscopy?
We got jokes in here.
Wow, we seem to have a little lump here, Robert. What is that? Oh, it's a microphone.
Funny, I thought that was my head up my...
Yeah, I mean, that stuff too, and the sad thing is they got like 22-something brains, and it's exponentially growing too. They got a ton donated. Hopefully they don't get them for a long time, but as they get them too, they all have signs of that CTE or whatever it is. They all have signs of, and whether it's boxers, whether it's football players, but it's just.
And the problem is you can't tell it until they do the autopsy.
Yeah.
I mean, who was the receiver for Cincinnati that fell out of the back of the truck with his girlfriend? Henry, yeah. I mean, he had it really bad when they did the autopsy on him, and they had no idea.
And the Saints take a commanding 20-3 lead here with the extra point pending.
Well, that's an ugly dance, so it must be Lance
really
Moore
ugly.
again.
Lance Moore again, huh?
Here comes the penalty.
Fall down, trip.
Could you imagine?
Trip.
What if you're just uncoordinated?
That's a good route right there.
Quick.
It's bad defense.
He's a great possession receiver.
21-3. This game's over.
So what do you guys want to do for the second half? Hang out.
T-boat.
God, we're not talking about that guy. Stand it.
If he went to Miami, you'd be talking about him every week.
You know what's funny is I talk to people out Florida. They can't stand him either. They can't stand him.
Why?
Why do they dislike him?
Why?
I understand criticizing his football skills.
I saw what Jake Plummer had to
Plummer
say.
hit it on the head, I thought. Jake Plummer hit it on the head. I think a lot of people, no one dislikes the guy. No one dislikes him at all. But what Jake Plummer said, and I hope we can pull it up. Someone can pull it up because I don't want to butcher the quote. But it went something like, Jake Plummer said, I'll start liking Tebow a lot more when he starts realizing we all know that he loves God as much as we think he does.
Well, he said, if I said every time at a press conference, first I want to start by saying I love my wife, that after a while that everyone would and
Tebow's not the first guy to do that, though. It's just he's such a high-profile
But do you think
guy.
he's phony?
I think he comes off as it.
But do you think he's
I
phony?
think he comes off as it.
Well,
No, I don't
the
think
only
he's
thing
funny.
is, he's been like that since his first day at Florida. So I don't know
Yeah,
how that's
what's phony
when
about
you
that?
carry it into this. And, you know, if people are watching the game right now, you want your son to emulate a guy like Tim Tebow or some of the other clowns in the NFL. And that's the truth.
I just think it's I think especially when it comes to matters of faith, that when somebody puts it so out like that, I think they make themselves polarized.
But how much of that is on the media? He scores, goes to the sideline, and everybody, focuses
Zooms in on the
Tebow.
T-bow.
Yeah, I mean, to me, if that offend is
You
not
said
the right
same thing
word,
about
but if that
Stevie Johnson, though, well, it's all the media blowing it up. It was really a good touchdown
I hate
dance.
the media.
I just think
It was really a good touchdown
like
dance.
if that
They demonized him for shooting himself in
if
the
that
leg.
bothers you, I don't know. I mean, I think that's more about you than him. I mean, he is who he is. I don't. He's not going to change himself.
Right.
I mean, I've seen ball players in all sports, do a little cross. If they hit a home run,
That's
they
not what
cross
we're
home
talking
plate.
about, though. We're talking about the fact that he's just like, and like I said, Jake Plummer hit it on the head, and I think that's how a lot of people feel. Once he realizes that everyone understands where he's coming from, and he is willing to accept it, then I think everyone will like him a lot more.
Just shut up finally, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But I don't think he
we get
cares.
it.
I don't think
We
he
get
cares
it. You
because
love Jesus. We get it.
Right,
Okay,
but I don't think he
let's move
cares
on.
because his
Time
his mission in life.
Satanic ritual tonight, Eric.
But that's his mission in life. Is he wants to
Spread the gospel.
Honestly,
He wants to spread the good word.
yes, absolutely. Have you heard the good news?
Have you heard the good news of Jesus Christ? Tim Tebow.
Wow,
Tim
you
Tebow
guys
would like
are
to talk
brutal,
to you.
man.
No, but I don't have a problem with it. Honestly, I think it's great. It certainly seems like, hey, he may not be a good quarterback. I've never seen a team buy into a bad quarterback more than the Broncos are buying into Tim Tebow.
Completely bought into him.
He may not be able to throw a spiral,
I
but
hope
I'll
they
take
give him
those
a 7-year
wins.
deal. I really do.
I tell you,
I
you
hope
get
they
to
give
the
him a
point where you
7-year
start
deal.
rooting for the guy.
Hell yeah,
everybody
I'm rooting for him.
I am too. I watched that game the other day. I
Absolutely.
said, pull it out.
Hallelujah!
Did you guys
Go
see?
on, brother.
Did you guys see Shannon Sharp's interview with him
Yeah,
pregame?
I thought it was great.
I didn't see it, but I heard some of the excerpts of it, and I was like, "Wow, that's pretty."
It was direct and to the point.
Yeah, it was. He told him flat out, "This offense is stunning your growth as a quarterback," and he's right. It is. It is. And unless they're going to completely go to this, which it doesn't seem like Elway's going to allow that, then it is stunning.
I think Elway's been totally unfair to the guy.
Absolutely, I think
Elway's
that.
been a jerk to him.
I would absolutely.
Oh, wait.
reaction-
The third
I'd
down
absolutely
percentage is not good enough to win,
How
guys.
about Elway's reaction when he runs the ball into the end zone against the Jets? They flash up to the booth.
And he's like,
Elway's like
this
Elway's like the owner in Major League.
Yeah.
It's like every guy that didn't win
Can
the
you
Oscar.
believe this
It's like if
guy?
you didn't win the Oscar. Oh, yeah, really good for you. I'm really happy you won because you're a much better actor than me.
Did we say it on there? It's like when Charlie Sheen comes out to a Wild Thing, and she's like, "I hate this."
Winning.
That was
Yeah.
the most uncomfortable cutaway to an owner I've ever seen.
Yeah, he's
Or
like,
or
"Great.
after you win the
now I got
fourth
the
game and he
16th
goes
pick
for
instead of
Well,
four.
and
There goes Matt Barkley.
he made a point yesterday when he went out to the sideline during the fourth quarter when they kicked that game-winning field goal. He got his chiclets out there, and he was like over the top, like he had won Publishers Clearinghouse.
Someone give him a sugar cube. Here, John, take that or an apple and root for your quarterback for a change. You just won 5 games or whatever.
I know he doesn't fit the mold, but, I mean, can't you change the mold for some guys to fit him? In other words, he's not a standard drop-back passer. He never will be. But can't you turn your offense, and aren't they doing that?
I think Steve Young said it best. I mean, they're doing well right now, but is this a sustainable offense and can go to the playoffs and go deep? No.
You don't think so?
No. You got to.
I think that's Elway's point. I think he's got to learn how to be more political about it, and I think he's got to learn that he can't just be brash and, Denver's not just going to love you because you're John Elway. You got to make good decisions, and but I think that's the point he's getting to with the third down percentage and everything else is that, hey, we're not here to win some games, and this is great. This is a great ride, but is this the path we're going to take to win a championship? What do you do with them?
But to me, maybe on an individual team basis, you can prove that you can win without your quarterback having to even go out there and do a whole lot. That's what you guys are going to have to do.
I was going to say, we're going to find out with the Atlanta Falcons this week.
Well, I mean, here's my thing.
Can T.J. Yates do the zone read?
Why not? No, here's my thing with Tim Tebow is that why can't you have him do a little bit of everything? Why can't you play some special teams, play some receiver, do that kind of stuff, and then on 3rd and 2, he's the quarterback and he runs wildcat.
Basically,
stuff.
run wildcat.
He does wildcat, but the thing is he's so much more than just like that common NFL wildcat because he can throw it 100 times better than your average wildcat. Than your average Ronnie Brown.
But what do you
guy.
do when you put him in there and said, go out there and compete, and all the guy has done is gone out and compete and won games for you? I mean, the final results are what matters.
You know what's sad is that the Denver defense and special teams are getting no credit.
They're sick. Well,
their defense has been fantastic.
They're starting to get credit.
Fantastic.
It's getting there.
And my thing is, it's like if this defense would have played, and I know you can say what if this and what if that. I'm just saying that if the same statistics were given to Kyle Orton, don't you think he would be winning these games?
If their defense was helping him out that much?
Yeah, that's the thing. I mean, these guys there's pick sixes. They're holding. No one's. I mean, the thing is Denver in this winning streak, every game they won, they haven't scored higher than, except the Oakland game.
Well, Denver's defense wasn't terrible the first 4 weeks of the season, though, and Orton was awful, and they were losing.
Well,
but they weren't as good as they are right now.
Right, they are playing really well.
There's a big difference between giving up 24 games and giving up 17
how much of that, though, is, when Orton's turning the ball over, your defense is on the field more, you're going to be worn down. And it seems to me with Tebow running that running attack, other defenses are wearing down in the fourth quarter. I know he's leading these fourth quarter game-winning drives.
He doesn't turn the ball over.
Yeah.
They're wearing out defenses too, and you're right. He doesn't turn the ball over. You can have your third down percentage, your completion percentage.
It was
if
worth
the guy
price
doesn't
of
turn it
admission,
over,
though,
and they
see
still
Rex
move
Ryan's face on the sideline when he went 95 yards, him walking on the sideline going.
Willis McGahee's having a heck of a resurgence this year too.
And he's a perfect guy. It'd be interesting to see because here's the thing: is Denver has to make a decision. They have to make a decision because if you're going to go with this, at least in the short term, and you can go with this and then say, hey, you know what, it didn't work out and switch because you're still going to stockpile yourself with good athletes.
But I think they made their decision. After winning the fourth game and Elway comes out and goes, we still haven't found our quarterback, that tells me they've made their decision.
He may have made a decision, but I don't know if you heard what Pat Bowlen had to say.
Yeah.
Pat Bowlen is very pro Tebow because the guy's a gold mine.
Yeah.
The guy's a gold. I mean, you in the city of Denver.
How long does that last? If they end up next year 8-8, I think you can sell all the jerseys you want, but you're not going to keep a guy who's not winning.
They are winning now.
They are right now. Right.
My guess is they're probably going to end up 8-8, 9-7. They're going to be in it the whole way.
And the question is,
Robert, you're not being cynical and thinking that the owner's only worried about money, are you?
No. I'm just saying at some point it's going to come down to wins and losses. The Texans could have drafted Vince Young way back when. They would have sold a lot of jerseys, made a lot of money. But if he didn't perform, it wasn't going to mean anything other than some extra money in the owner's pockets. People would have been dissatisfied with him. And the question for me is how much do the Broncos – they've put this offense in on the fly. If you have an entire offseason and you actually embrace these out-of-the-box concepts.
But he's still going to be the guy they inherited. They didn't draft him.
I think the problem is you have to have a second guy that can also run it. Because if he goes down, and even though he's a big guy, and I think some guys are laying him a little bit, not wanting to get hit. You almost have to have a second guy that can run it also if he goes down during a game, don't you?
That's what I'm saying. You got to buy into it. Are you going to buy into it or not? You got to buy into it. If you're going to buy into it, then you got to go get a second quarterback like him. You got to start stockpiling your defense because I don't care what you say, you're not going to put up more than the mid-20s every week. So you're going to have a great defense to keep on staying. It's like Nebraska. Right. You know, you keep getting a 3rd and 10. There's not a good, you know, when they're 3rd and short and they're keeping the score down, they win a lot of games.
Here's how it's going to play out. If they probably won't make the playoffs. I mean, they might be a wild card. I think they're competing with the Jets in Cincinnati, but I don't think they make it. And then next year, the Denver drafts a quarterback, and they say, "Oh, it's Tebow's our starter, but it's competition," and then they phase him out during preseason.
But like Matt's saying,
how do you
it's hard to phase him out. It's hard
right.
to phase him out if he goes. Well, how many games is he going to get in? 10.
Yeah.
By the end of it, probably about 10, right?
He's,
11. They were 1 and 4.
They have 5 left, and he's won 4 out of 5 starts.
Yeah.
4 to 5 starts with 5 to left to play. So he's going to have 10 starts, right?
Right. And their schedule is not tough for the rest of the way.
They still got Chicago. They still got New England.
But
one of those is Caleb Haney, though, and
the other one is look at New England's record in Mile High Stadium. They're like 2-40 or something. They don't play well at Mile High.
I think New England's going to be a big test from the sense of if you play well against New England, you'll hold them to 24 points. For Denver right now, that's a lot of points to score.
Right.
So I mean that'll be a big test. That'll be a big test, I think.
And I think Belichick, if anybody can find a way to stop that option.
But the thing is, it's not like it's killing people. They're not.
No, they're not.
They're not Nebraska circa 1995.
No,
they're not running the triple option for 49 games.
I don't think Denver scoring against Bears defense.
They didn't score against the Jets defense either. They scored that one time. They had a pick 6 and a field goal.
Right.
Why does it take
Tebow had a lot to do with that.
though, why does it take the offensive coordinator 55 minutes to be so structured, and then they let Tebow freewheel it, and he goes out there and makes plays?
It is interesting the way their play calling changes late in the 4th quarter.
Well, to be fair, in that Jet game, he
changes.
just played horrible. First 3 quarters.
He does that all the time.
Yeah. What are you doing in the Miami game?
But that's not the offensive coordinator.
What are you doing in the Detroit game?
Yeah, but why can't you just go no huddle all the time? Why not?
Your offensive lineman may need oxygen by about.
Yeah, no kidding. I'll have something to say about that, man.
But how come Cincinnati and Buffalo used to? How come Boomer Esiason's Cincinnati team could do it? How come the K-Gun could do it? Why can't, we see it in college football now all the time. You're running 80 plays, you're killing the defense. That's why we see these scores out there. Why? And it's all no huddle, fast pace, fast pace, fast pace.
Well,
why would you not do it at the pro level?
College is different because even if you ran those 80 plays at the pro level, it's really 65 to 70.
And the other thing about college is if you are an offensive lineman,
the clock stops so much more in college.
You're going to face 2 guys during that entire season. If you're an NFL type of lineman, that's going to give you a hard time. You face 2 guys in practice that can give you a hard time rushing the pass. That's another reason you can't do it.
It's so situational, though. Why wouldn't you want to? The NFL has so many specialists and situational guys. Why wouldn't you get them caught with the personnel package you have that you have in the field, and then take advantage of it over and over and over again?
Peyton's Manning made a career of.
Right.
Yep.
That's all he's ever done.
We're going to call an audible right here. Since we're out here at the Billiard Factory, we're going to have a little competition here. Word has it that Matt's been trash-talking the offensive lineman on this side. So we're going to have offensive linemen against Matt and Jeff on foosball. Guys, let's move to our positions. I'm waiting on the hockey guy for this one.
Yeah.
Oops, she almost dropped it. Go keep it.
All right.
Good.
All right, what are we? Are we red here?
Yeah.
Of course, that's communist red, I believe.
Okay.
Whatever one you want.
Yeah, figures Matt would have the red team.
Of course.
Do we have
all I know is I
have all the
forgot how far
pressure.
you had to stand
You
back
gotta
from
score.
the
You
table.
got to have a ball to play.
There's a
this.
ball right there.
All right, we're ready.
There we go.
All right.
There we go.
Whoa.
Wait. Oh, I like it. We can spin it.
Oh, God.
Oh, Jesus.
You got to throw a flag on that. Illegal use of the hands.
Try to put a little move on me.
Why
right
is this
there.
ball? Usually they have ramps right there.
Oh!
Yes! Did you see what I did right there? Did you see how I intimidated him with my
I don't know if the
plastic
camera got
tube?
that. You scored on yourself, right?
An own
Where's the?
goal.
Where,
done.
oh, it's right in here.
Just go for the home run.
I'm not
Matt.
sure that's legal. There you go. That's it.
See?
The touch
Nice pass.
Oh,
He hit it so hard it came out.
That's what she said.
Gee.
Is this thing on?
Is this yours or mine?
Oh.
Those PEDs are rough on you, Lineman, I'm telling you. I'm going the wrong way.
Get it in the corner. Get it in the corner.
Oh, I don't think that's legal.
There you go.
Go!
You get a touchdown dance?
Yeah, I mean, shoot myself.
Whoa!
Man overboard.
Flagrant foul.
Dude, you got an anger management problem.
You see how hard he's trying to...
I know.
He's gonna...
I need protective eyewear.
He's gonna need Tommy John after this.
Wow.
Word has it he has strong wrists.
Oh.
Oh, finesse. The finesse of a Greg Koch.
Right. Big burly.
Who said tackles weren't athletic? No.
Oh, God.
No.
Oh.
Watch it. Here comes
There
that
we go.
patented spin.
He winds up and. Oh.
The old spinner.
We're on a roll now.
3-2 now. The lineman.
Jeff, you're right. You've never really played this, have
No, never. This is tough.
Can you get one of your guys to lay down in front of the goal?
Ooh.
Oh.
We're about to start playing big boy rules.
Oh, God.
How do you ever get
You know,
good at this?
You're pulling a Tebow on me with this "oh God" every 2 seconds.
I'm saying it for another reason.
This could possibly be the most unathletic foosball game ever played.
Uncoordinated, that's for sure. Oh, God. No!
Did we date in college?
Assist myself.
No, you don't.
What do we got? Is it 4-3?
No, it's not.
Two.
No way.
4-2 lineman?
Oh, off the post.
Unforced error there.
We're playing 1st to 5, so the heat is on Matt and Jeff.
Uh-oh.
Watch that spin. No. No.
Out of there.
No.
There you go. There you go. Oh.
Ooh.
Get in!
Oh! Dang.
Oh, good.
It's a defensive struggle here.
Oh, own goal.
Matt and Jeff.
I was laughing too hard at how Eric, when he doesn't like it, he just picks the whole table up. Damn, I keep going the wrong way.
Oh.
4-4.
Is that 4-4?
Yeah. Two quick ones.
Well, you guys have scored 6, but
Yeah.
2 of them went to them.
Oh, man. Boom!
Matt, you need to do the, what'd you call it? The Dougie?
The Carlton?
Carlton?
That is so bad.
Oh, boy.
I tell you what, I'm glad we didn't win if that's what we had to do.
Hey, we're out here at the Billiard Factory. Great time. You can get your very own man cave. You can get all your man toys, like this foosball. They got tons of pool tables, shuffleboard, everything out here. BilliardFactory.com. You can start building your own little playroom, your own man cave, right now at BilliardFactory.com. Second half just getting underway. Giants down 21-3. Guys, I thought this was going to be a closer game than it's been so far. What's gone wrong for the Giants?
Giants haven't mustered any points, and they haven't stopped. I mean, look at that, 350 yards in the total. That's insane.
What happened to the Giants' defense again?
So many injuries in their secondary at the start of the year.
Pass rush, yeah. Everybody they wanted to play cornerback there, it seems like they've gotten hurt.
Well, look at one of the keys we talked about before the game. The Giants had to be able to run the ball to open things up for Eli. They got 29 yards rushing. I mean, you're not going to keep up with the Saints doing things like that.
That's a high school yards per play, 9.1 yards per play for the Saints. That's for an NFL game. That's just ridiculous.
For any kind of football game, that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But it makes for great shots of Tom Coughlin on the sideline. I love his expressions when the Giants are losing, particularly.
Oh.
What do the Giants have to do to get back in this game? Do they have to just throw and throw and throw? Because there's no way they're going to be able to score unless they score quick. I mean, there's no way they're going to catch up.
Like I said, I didn't think they could win this game unless Eli threw it 35 times and threw it effectively. Obviously, they're going to have to. I think they're going to have to create a turnover at some point now. This opening drive is going to be big. They need points here, and even if they get a field goal, you're still within 2 scores. And I think they're going to have to. They have to get points here, and I think that's the big thing. And at some point this half, they're going to have to create a turnover. But they're not that far away. Eli's got some magic this year in the late game heroics. If he can keep it within a score or two, they can play some decent defense this half, regroup. I think they'll be all right.
Well, here's my take. They're up 55. I'm up 55 points in my fantasy league. All my players have played. And he's got Eli, Hakeem Nicks, and the tight end for
Jake
New Orleans.
Ballard.
And I don't know for
Jimmy Graham.
Jimmy Graham. I don't think any of them have done anything yet.
Graham's even gotten in the end zone once.
Yep.
Has he gotten in once?
Yeah.
Well, that doesn't bother me. I need Eli to keep. Eli needs to throw a pick 6. Hakeem needs to fumble or break a leg, one of the two. I take this fantasy stuff very seriously.
That's right. What do the guys play in hockey in terms of? I mean, we were playing foosball here. When guys aren't practicing skating, what are they doing?
I'm a huge shuffleboard fan. They're few and far between, so you don't find many of those.
Yeah.
You know what all those guys play? Video games like Call of Duty. They're so into that.
Right.
Probably because a lot of younger guys and stuff.
Sure.
I never got into video games or anything, but it's so weird. They talk about it like it's the biggest thing ever.
I walked in on my youngest son playing Call of Duty with a headphone on. I go, "Who you playing with?" He goes, "Zach," who's my oldest son, who's in Austin.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. You can play with anybody basically.
Unbelievable.
Get a little
All right, we're going to get a flag here for a defenseless receiver as Hakeem
Blow to
Nicks.
the head.
Good.
Helmet to helmet. Boom.
I hope he's not hurt.
Was that really helmet to
here's
helmet?
the slow
Look, helmet to helmet.
yeah.
That was on the shoulder pad.
Shoulder to
that was
shoulder.
like on the shoulder pad.
His
to
helmet.
me.
His helmet.
Is that Hakeem Nicks?
Hakeem Nicks gets.
Let me ask you.
That's too bad.
Like, you're going to call it, like, I get that, or there's a penalty. How would you coach safeties and corners to play the ball then? You're like, you almost have to be in,
Here's
have
slow
perfect
motion
coverage.
Nicks didn't.
The shot
That's
is
in
there.
the
to
Shoulder pad. That was shoulder
From
pad.
that
That's a bad
angle, it was a
call.
little shoulder.
They're calling
Well,
that
the other
way
thing
too
is
much.
when you're going on that head-to-head,
I-
they can overreact. Because until you stop running backs from coming through the hole and ducking their head, how are you going to meet that unless you duck?
I
your
will
head?
say that I hate when they call it and it's close. I mean, I think they should absolutely 100% call it blatant helmet to helmet. Those are easy calls to me. Make the easy calls. Don't try to make these unbelievable calls. Let the league office deal with that. They can find these guys, and if it's really a finable, and if it's not, then it's not. But don't change the game.
Well,
Don't
that can't be challenged either.
Yeah, that can't be challenged.
These
That's the problem.
plays happen so quickly. That's one of my problems is why not make it reviewable? I know you don't want to slow down the game too much, but there's no way in regular speed that you can tell whether his helmet made contact with Nick's helmet. I mean, we didn't see it until the third replay.
Oh, I thought we said it was shoulder to the shoulder
Well,
first, and a lot of times you are aiming and the guy will duck, and then it comes up to.
What's the difference though between a running back and a linebacker going helmet to helmet? That's legal, but because they don't get the huge, unbelievable run up and
you say it's defenseless. He's not defenseless.
Receiver looking back for the ball. as
You can
opposed
go
to
to the
running
head.
back.
You can go to the head when the guy's running down the field.
Well, I don't
But if
understand
you're
moving the
looking
kickoff
like this,
up
and you
either.
hit the guy right here.
I don't understand moving the kickoff up because that was supposed to protect players from not having the violent collisions. But those guys blocking for the kickoff return, they turn to go, and they don't know whether he's kneeling or not. They're still having violent
But if you're
collisions.
really concerned about safety, why wouldn't you outlaw helmet-to-helmet everywhere?
On that quarterback sneak,
Shit.
I think Matt Schaub, when he got hurt, it was a helmet-to-helmet in there. Quarterback sneak. I mean,
Is this thing on? Oh, testing.
you can't
No, it's not
eliminate.
working. It's not working.
You can't eliminate helmet-to-helmet. There's
You're
no
not.
way you
They're
can
not
play
trying.
football
They're
and
not trying to
eliminate
eliminate helmet to helmet. They're trying to eliminate defenseless helmet to helmet. Same thing in hockey. They're trying to eliminate. Well, hockey might be a little different because you don't have as much of the natural helmet to helmet. But
Yeah.
they're not trying to eliminate helmet to helmet.
Plus, you don't have
contact.
face masks, or not everyone
Yeah,
does.
they're trying to eliminate the defenseless receivers, defenseless players, really.
Oof. Yeah, I mean, like you said, though, it takes you to look at it in slow motion before you can actually make the right call, which is not the way it should be. It's too hard. It's too quick of a game that.
The amazing thing is, though, is that NFL referees, for the most part, get it right. It's amazing to me how they get it right on those bang-bang plays like that.
I don't see how a lot of those plays you can even see in real speed. It is incredible how they do it.
Well, a lot of people yesterday on Twitter were blowing up about, was Walt Coleman doing your game yesterday?
Yeah.
I have no idea. Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
A lot of people were blowing up about Walt Coleman just being maybe the worst. A lot of, I didn't know who Walt Coleman, I couldn't have picked him out of a lineup yesterday. It just seemed to me a lot of people were, like, for example, and Gary Kubiak kind of gave a look at one point. There was one penalty where they gave no explanation as to why a call had been made, and it was the one on the, boy, was it the pass interference? There was one play where Gary was like, well, what was the call? And he never even gave the call to the, he never even
Right.
gave the, what was that play right there?
Boy, Gary called them over, too. I don't
On the
remember
one,
which
the Brooks Reed one, right? Or the JJ
Was that
one?
the hit below
Yeah.
the knee?
Yeah.
Yeah.
You remember the older ref in the end zone,
It was
Robert,
second
that
and
one
20.
time where he couldn't remember what the call was? So he goes,
Giving him the
he
business.
was giving him the business.
There it is, touchdown.
Brandon
Started off.
Jacobs sighting. You can take him off that milk carton.
So, I mean, listen, they're only down 11 right now. They got 10 minutes to go in the third. You get a stop here. You got the thing they got to do is they got to stop the Saints. You have to stop
He's doing the Carlton.
Saints.
there's some
Saints taking a
smack
little
talking
fist.
going
Oh,
on
wow.
now.
Brandon Jacobs is getting flagged.
Uh-oh.
For sure.
Don't hit that ref,
He
Brandon.
extended that thing for a long time.
Well,
Considering
we,
he's down
What's
11.
he doing?
While we wait for the extra point here, time for another edition of One-on-One. Eric sitting down one-on-one with legendary Packers lineman Greg Koch as two offensive linemen
Legendary.
get ready for the one-on-one segment. Let's check out a
Do I have to
video
give you
of
the money now,
A legend
Robert?
in his own mind.
Greg's days when his hair wasn't gray and he was playing for the legendary Bart Starr and the Green Bay Packers. Played with Bart?
No, I didn't play with Bart. He was my head coach.
in mind. Bart Starr's Green Bay Packers have been one of the NFL's biggest surprises so far this season, a trend that continued in a most unusual way last Sunday against the San Diego Chargers. Amazingly, Packer quarterback David Whitehurst was sacked 10 times by the Chargers, but because of superb defense spearheaded by Willie Buchanan's 4 interceptions, Green Bay won their third game. Buchanan's final theft covered 77 yards and closed out a 24-3 Packer victory. San Diego, on the other hand, not only lost the game, but head coach Tommy Prothro, who resigned and was...
There's Daddy Frank.
Greg, there he is. There he is, right into your TV. Greg Koch, thanks for being here. Thanks for going one-on-one with me.
Thanks.
Now, you were born in Bethesda, Maryland, but you grew up in Houston.
Well, I was born in the Naval Hospital. My
Okay.
dad, it only cost him $4 to have me. He was getting out of the Navy, so he had
That's
me
a hell of a
there.
deal.
Yeah, and then 6 days later, we came to Houston. So I figured...
Was he restationed here or what?
No, he was getting out of the Navy.
Oh,
in
just happened to be
Bethesda,
getting
and it was
out.
in the Naval
Okay.
Hospital, yeah. And what was weird is that, so I consider myself being born and raised in Houston. My oldest son, I was playing for the Dolphins, and he was born in Hollywood, Florida. 6 days later, we brought him back to Houston. So he was born in Florida, but he considered
Nice.
7 days.
Now, what brought your family to Houston?
Believe it or not, my grandfather, my dad's family was from Iowa, and my grandfather, his father were all Lutheran pastors. So my dad's oldest brother went through the seminary, and he was named a vicar at Trinity Lutheran down here in Houston, and then decided he didn't want to become a pastor and opened Manpower here. Made a lot of money in the temporary labor business. So my dad, when he got out of the Navy, followed his brother to Houston. Been here ever since.
So obviously, grow up in Houston, play high school football in Houston, then go to Arkansas.
Right.
A pretty interesting college coaching staff you had at Arkansas.
Yeah, my freshman year we had Frank Broyles was our head coach. Our offensive coordinator was Joe Gibbs, and our defense coordinator was Jimmy Johnson.
That's pretty unbelievable.
Yeah, it was a nice staff.
How good were you guys?
We weren't that good until my junior year. We ended up 10-2.
Now, was that Frank Broyles one of his first years there?
No. Frank had been there.
For a long
In
time
fact,
now.
my senior year, we played Texas in Memorial Stadium, and Frank and Darryl Roll retired that game. So
Okay, wow. So that was at the end of his career then.
Right, at the end of his career.
So from Arkansas, then drafted.
Right.
How was your time at Arkansas? I mean,
It was great. I mean, my best friend in high school was a guy named R.C. Tillman, and we decided at the last minute we were going to go to the same school. And he wanted to go to Nebraska. I wanted to go to Oklahoma. So we compromised and went to Arkansas.
Is that right?
And then on draft day, it was different than it is now where it's all televised. I mean, you basically got a call from the team, and we were drafted 2 people apart in the draft in the second round.
So most guys go to college for a girl. You went to a certain college for another guy.
Wow, when you put it that way, let me see.
I'm sorry, I just had to throw that one out there. So, okay, so you guys, in 75, you were in the Southwest.
I went to college for a dude, man. I never really thought about it like that. Okay.
Let's compromise and just go to Arkansas.
Exactly. But let's skip and hold hands when we sign.
Are you guys still close?
Yeah, we are. Not as close as you would have us be, of course, but he lives in Atlanta.
Okay.
RC lives in Atlanta. He ended up getting a Super Bowl ring with the Washington Redskins. In fact, they beat us when I was with the Vikings in the NFC Championship game.
So you end up going, you drafted second round to Green Bay, right? What was it like playing for the Pack? What was it like? I mean, even then they had a tradition.
Yeah, it's probably the most unique sporting place in the world, and in that it's a city of only 102,000 people. I mean, downtown, I think the biggest building has 6 stories. But the team, I mean, on game day, literally, it's a ghost town. I mean, you will your tickets down. You know, getting a ticket to a Packer game is one of the hardest things to do. And the tradition is just, you know, I mean, I got there at a great time where, you know, I played for Bart Starr, and I got to meet Forrest Gregg and Fuzzy Thurston and Ray Nitschke and, you know, name all those Packer greats. But I also got to meet the older guys like Johnny Blood McNally, Tony Cannondale, guys like that. And then after my career, I got to meet Brett Favre and right up into Aaron Rodgers. What they do is they always bring the guys back. They try to keep you involved with the team. So it's just a really nice place to play.
What was it? I mean, was it always a sense of like when you went out in Green Bay that everyone kind of know who you were? Or I mean, what was it like? What was how did the community? I mean, obviously the community receives you guys well, but what's that dynamic? Because most places, obviously, Houston, big cities, they know who you are, but they don't really know you. They don't see you. I get the feeling from people that I know that played in Green Bay that they knew you. Like, they knew you.
I mean, they could tell you, you know, your height and weight, where you went to college, probably where you went to high school. I mean, you know, the community feels like they are the owners of the team. You know, there's no owner. What they do is they've sold stock in the 30s to keep the team alive, but the stock doesn't pay dividends. But they elect a board of directors, now that an executive group that acts. Mark Murphy, a former Redskin, now is the president. But if the team ever folds, all the proceeds go to the American Legion.
No kidding.
So it's truly a publicly, I mean, you know, the city owns the team.
Do you think the Packers would ever fold?
No, no. In the 30s they almost did, but not anymore.
Yeah. So after the league, after you're done, you end up going to law school.
Right.
What made you want to go to law school? I mean, what was that?
Well, when I went to Arkansas, I wanted to be a doctor, so I majored in chemistry, believe it or not. And then one afternoon,
Sounds like a hit.
Yeah, one afternoon, my chemistry lab was conflicting with my football practice. So I went up to my offensive line coach and I said, I got a problem. My lab's conflicting with practice. And he said, well, I don't see any problem. I said, what do you mean? He goes, well, go up and ask your chemistry professor if he's going to pay your way through college. So the next day I switched to marketing, and then I decided to go to law school. Because when I got out of the NFL, I really didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I figured I hadn't done anything to that point without a lawyer. So I'd go to law school, take 3 years, decide what I wanted to do, and then I ended up doing pretty well in law school, so I decided to become one.
So now what kind of law are you doing right now?
Litigation, mostly commercial business litigation.
Just
companies suing companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just hassling over.
Yeah, exactly.
Typical lawyer
arguing,
stuff.
just typical arguing.
Now, you've also made a name for yourself doing a lot of radio. How did that come about? Like, what made you want to do
Well,
that?
I had a radio show in Green Bay, and I still have this headline where this reporter said, Greg Koch, the Texan with the 10-gallon mouth. And when I got down to Houston, Joel Blank, who runs all the production stuff for the Rockets, Joel's a big Packer fan. He's from Milwaukee, and he asked me if I wanted to start doing some arena football. So I started there, and then it just kind of evolved where I was going to do some NFL analysis for CBS, and it's just, I enjoy it. I have a good time talking sports, and that's what we all do.
What is that something that you want to expand your role in, or is it? Do you like because you're on about a couple times a week? I surmise because I end up catching you on there.
And I like watching you guys. I like to watch you guys evolve as a team. And I mean, I remember when I was a younger player and how different that learning curve that it takes to go up in the NFL. And I just enjoy sports, and I'm from Houston, so I have a natural affinity for the community and the city, and I love it here. I love it. There's something about being a Texan that people in other states don't really realize. Yeah, they don't get it. So I like that. But I don't know if it's going to expand or not. I enjoy what I'm doing right now, and hopefully it stays that way.
So I guess looking now to the future, what is there something you want to do? I mean, 5 years from now, what do you want to be doing? I mean, is it something that has to do more with your litigation, or is it something more you have to do with the media? Where do you want to be in 5 years? Where do you want to be in 10 years? What hasn't happened for you that you would like to try, or that there's something that you out there that you haven't gone to?
Well, 5 years and 10 years, green side up. When you just said, they're down off at 55, I feel like falling over right there.
Exactly, right?
No, what I'd like to do is probably I'm leaning toward getting into some kind of sports administration. I wouldn't mind being an athletic director somewhere. Yeah, I would really like to stay in the sports, but use my legal background and do something along that nature.
Now, it seems like a lot of the ADs now are almost lawyers. Do you think that has to do a lot with how much of this stuff's coming down with, whether it's paying guys or just it seems like different.
Well, there's so many other stuff, compliance officers
yeah.
and things like that. Yeah, it's tough to kind of, to work the Title IX and make sure the women's sports are getting the same, equal share as the men's sports and everything, and try to keep that balancing act going between having a winning program and also turning out good student athletes. And that's tough today because you got to realize that, as well as anybody, college sports has just become a money-making machine.
Sure.
And
it's a business.
And how many guys are really worried about how many people they're graduating versus how many wins they have. So it's a tough balancing act that you have to do.
Greg, appreciate you being here.
Hey man, you're having a hell of a season. Keep it up.
Thanks.
There's nothing left, so save your breath, lying in wait.
Greg Koch in action back in the day. What was that, 1954?
I don't know, but I showed off my 3-inch vertical leap right there.
There it is.
Was that?
You're really, you know what? I'm telling you, Robert.
They're chippy, aren't they?
I don't want to hurt you, but it's on the list right now.
Uh-oh. I'm going to be the one getting the business in the pile next time.
Now, Breeze is, I guess, while he's kind of shucking off more missed tackles than Barry Sanders has, there's one tweet I saw I thought that really, and I don't even know who it was, and who knows how much of rumored this is, but they said that they've met with Peyton Manning, or I don't know what it was, and I only want to say that. They said now where Peyton Manning is, there's a better than 50% chance that he's going to end up retiring at the end of this year.
I think that was a reporter saying after talking to him.
After
that
talking
was the
to him, yeah, that was the impression
he
he got.
Well, he's got more
imagine?
money than he needs. And if you're talking about nerve damage in your neck and you've already had your third operation, I'm sure his doctor's going to play a big part as far as, do you want to play football bad enough to where you might not walk right the rest of your life? And this is what we were talking about earlier.
Everyone said that wasn't that kind of. It wasn't.
Well, I hope not, but I don't see why he'd retire otherwise.
I think the question is whether his arm.
Well, I don't think can he play. I mean, that's the thing is that let's say if it's here, let's say if it's kind of going from your arm, you know how you kind of get that stinger,
right.
Or you get that. If that nerve is not firing, and so
well,
that muscle is
Bay.
not firing. And because what it sounds like, everything they're saying is that he can throw a ball, but he just can't throw it more than 10 yards. He gets tired easily. His arm gets worn out. That sounds exactly like a nerve that's not firing in his.
Right.
Well, my roommate in Green Bay, Larry McCarron, played 12 years for the Packers. I mean, was the toughest. His nickname's The Rock. I mean, one of the toughest guys I've ever met. That's what happened to him. He hurt that nerve in his neck, and he went to the Mayo Clinic trying to get somebody to tell him he could play. And they said, you could lose the use of your arm.
Jesus.
Wow.
Yeah.
It'd be a shame to see an injury.
That'd be such an unbelievable fall of.
I mean,
think about it.
But could you have foreseen that whole team just collapse the way it did?
Yes.
Just because Peyton won there, you could see him go.
I mean, no, not 0-16.
Right.
I thought they'd win.
But everyone
games.
that said that they were going to go 8-8, I was like generous. I thought 8-8. I thought 8-8, 9-7 was very generous for them.
I thought at least. I didn't think they would
I
go
thought
0-16, but
I thought
3
4 or
4
5
wins.
games, I wasn't going to be shocked at 5-11. I really was. To know how much he meant to that team, their whole franchise was just based around his production, what he did for the team, how he controlled the ball, everything.
He was offensive coordinator on the field.
Everything. Yeah, I mean, even the coaching staff wasn't ready for it.
Maybe Polian's not taking enough heat for how poorly he's constructed the roster.
Absolutely, and that's the thing that shocks me about the Colts is that, I mean, not to have even, let's face it, a competent backup. A guy that can go out there and can play at that. You cannot tell me Curtis Painter, even before this year started, I'm not talking even about now, I'm talking about before this year started.
They knew what they had.
Would be on anybody else's roster. You cannot tell me that. You cannot tell me. And I still think they were arrogant enough to think, oh, you know what, we'll win 3, 4, 5 games. It's okay. At least, maybe sneak in 8 games.
You mentioned Breeze shaking off tackles. He just juked somebody at the goal line to get in.
Well, that's
Not
the other
sure
thing
which
about
of the
the
Giants
Saints. When they have to
DBs.
score, like the Giants, like you said, came out, they need to score to get back in the game. The Saints can answer.
Absolutely.
It almost seems like it will.
Yeah.
Dion Grant, I think it was. Watch this replay. The middle's open. He's got a safety one-on-one. Oops.
That's bad.
Oops.
That's bad right there.
Did you see Edelman tackle Vince Young trying to juke him out? And there's a wide receiver playing DB.
Oh, Edelman on the
And
Patriots.
then he almost broke one of his ribs on the blitz.
We had the Patriots on last week. I can't believe how much they play him at DB. In their, I guess, their dime package, they've got him in.
Did the same thing with him back in the day.
It's amazing, and he tackles better than Dion Grant, apparently. At least
So I got a question just as a fan. Who's the toughest D lineman that you've faced? That I know when I played, I wanted to throw Jack Youngblood a party when he retired. Who's the guy that you think about the night before you're sitting there thinking, man, I got to be at my best?
I don't like going against Mathis. He's just so awkward. He's so it's just he's like Jamie Moyer.
He's kind of out of control anyway. You don't really.
It's just Jamie in the sense
change-ups and curveballs.
Well, no, you never see anybody else like him. Really? So he's just so hard. You don't see 6'1", 245 with those spin moves from anybody else. So it's hard to get ready for. It's hard to your practice squad guys. I mean, they try to emulate him, but it's not even close. It hurts you worse because you actually feel like, oh, I can stop this spin move. I've stopped Jesse Nady's spin move like 3 or 4 times today. This is easy.
I remember like when I was playing, defensive ends all do basic moves and some of the same. So you get kind of in a rhythm of what they do, and you'll get to training camp and some rookie will be there, and he'll do something so unorthodox he can make you look like an idiot.
I cannot stand playing the guys that are out of control, that are just very, like you said, unorthodox.
Right.
They're the harder guys to block. Justin Tuck was pretty tough last year. I thought he was a good player.
But he is a hell of a player. Both those guys you mentioned are good.
I mean, he is. You don't realize how big he is until you go up against him. You're like, wow, this guy's
Are size guys harder or speed guys for you?
I just say naturally, I would say, it's not so much size guys or speed guys. I hate long arm guys. The long arm guys are tough because they
can't get your hands on them.
Yeah, it's harder to get to them. They usually play pretty good. Long arm, shorter guys I think are really tough to go against. But
see, I like being physical, and I was always strong, so I like facing guys that wanted to take you on. The guys that don't want to touch you, those are the guys that I didn't like to play.
yeah, I don't know.
Guys who didn't like to touch you. I'm not going there. Explain that.
Like a
for second.
Mathis. I mean, like a guy
Oh,
that
they could
wants
get
to
around
beat you
you or
around the
spin
corner,
you.
or like when
Right.
I played Gastineau. Here's Gastineau, 6'5", 280. It ran a 4.5 40.
Right.
Now, he could beat you around the corner, so you take a deep drop, and then if he turned and bull rushed you and you weren't ready for that, I mean, you and Gastineau all meeting at the quarterback is not a pretty sight.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those guys that have that combination size and speed, but, a guy like Youngblood was kind of like one of those guys. I mean, Youngblood would really try to beat you, act like he's slanting inside, then jump outside, things like that. And he really didn't want to engage with you at all. He'd try to, put a move on you.
You know
and beat
who's
you around
like
the
that? I
corner.
really think he's like that. And you look at him, you're like, just the same way you look at him, you say, man, I can't get my butt run over here. It's Terrell Suggs. You watch him, how many times does he bull rush anybody?
Low center of gravity. too.
Very, very unnormal for him, but you have to respect him because
Right.
you look at him, you said, oh, Jesus, this guy is going to trick me if I don't. And you know what? Before you know it, he jumps right around you, and he's by you, and he does a great job of getting the ball out when he gets to the quarterback.
Right.
We should mention Jeff Taffe from the Aeros has practice in the morning, so he had to skate out of here a little bit early. We appreciate him joining us. For now, if you're just joining us, we've got Greg Koch from the Green Bay Packers and Arkansas Razorbacks, lives here in Houston now in his post-career playing days. He now takes on players in court instead of on the football field. Matt Jackson, Sports Talk show host at Sports Talk 790 here in Houston. Matt and I have known each other for quite some time. He's a devoted U of H and LSU follower, in addition to
LSU by marriage. I mean, honestly, if LSU loses tomorrow, I'm not going to lose any sleep.
and he's a big fan of the USSR, apparently.
He's wearing the colors tonight.
Exactly.
Matt and I actually worked on arena football together.
Oh, yeah.
Back in the day.
Back in the day, the Thunder Bears,
The
baby.
Houston Thunder Bears? Texas, was it Texas?
You're having a pretty good year this year. We got a stat
started
up
out
there.
the
You're,
Texas
you're
terror.
24-0 this year.
24-0. My season tickets for U of H and LSU, 24-0. I may
Holy
not see a
cow.
loss this year.
It's impressive.
That'll
Now,
never
you guys,
happen
are
again.
you going
Can
to
you buy
the SEC
Texans season
championship
tickets?
game?
I'm not going to the SEC championship. Listen to this.
It's in Atlanta, right? It's always in Atlanta.
Nobody had a worse night than I did when LSU beat Alabama a few weeks ago. While I slept, my wife went online and bought $1,500 national championship tickets.
Well, by the
Where
way,
are they
this
on-
is a paying gig, right?
Where are they on the field?
As Chris Rock once said, I don't endorse murder, but I understand it.
Yeah. You can understand. Yeah. Where are, seriously, is it a luxury box? Or?
That's a hell of an impulse
You
buy.
know what they're going for now? $3,500. So I told her right now, because my father-in-law said LSU season tickets forever. I said, look, if he wins the lottery on the tickets, we're selling these. There's no doubt. I don't even want to go. She's like, well, you're going. I was like, well, no. I was like,
Where is it this year?
it's in the Sugar Bowl.
Jesus. That's unbelievable. So Alabama's going to have to go to.
That's where every time it's at the Sugar Bowl, LSU's there. Every time it's there, LSU's
You're right.
there.
04,
I'm,
right?
glad, I'm glad you guys brought that up because I wanted to get into the BCS title talk as we see if the Giants can answer the Saints score here. BCS title game, it's looking like LSU, Alabama. Am I the only one that's like, okay, respect for the SEC, but I've already seen that game. I don't want to see it again.
I'm with you in the sense of, let's see if there's another, but there's no other good matchup. There really isn't. I mean, there's no other team that's even. I would be totally with you if Oregon was a one-loss team and hadn't played LSU yet, or USC was in it, or whoever. But the fact that, I mean, there's nobody even close. Everyone's got 2 losses except Stanford, and
Oklahoma State's only got 1 loss.
Oklahoma State's going to get drilled.
They would
may
get
have
drilled
2
by
losses
Yeah,
after this
they're
weekend.
still got to play Oklahoma and maybe in the Big 12 game. So I think the jury's still out on that one yet still. But even if they do, Oklahoma State would get drilled by them.
They
Well, I
would.
understand both sides of the argument. Saban himself said when he was at LSU, if you don't win your conference championship,
sure did.
you shouldn't be in the BCS Bowl. But I also
Let alone
understand
win your division.
Right, but I also understand the other side of the argument where if you are the 2 best college football programs in the land, which I think they are.
I don't even think it's close. To
Yeah,
me.
I don't
That's
either.
the thing, is if it was another year where even if you could make an argument for somebody else, you could make an argument. You could say, okay, this team's got a legit shot, or it would be worth seeing if this team could knock them, like an Oregon or someone like that. There's not, like I said, there's not even close. I mean, don't talk to me about Virginia Tech. Do not.
Yeah,
I agree. I
Do not
agree,
bring up Virginia
I agree
Tech.
that Alabama is probably better than Oklahoma State, but
Probably.
Easily.
Easily.
right.
Don't
but,
act
but
like
hold on a
LSU.
second.
already
What are
Don't act like
Alabama-
LSU
hold
marched
on a
into
second. Hold on a
Tuscaloosa and
second.
put up 42.
LSU won by a field
what are
goal in
Alabama's
overtime.
3 best wins?
Arkansas.
I don't watch Alabama.
Here are their quote-unquote 3
Arkansas.
best wins. Killed Arkansas, who, no offense, kind of a fraud this year. They got killed by LSU. They got killed by Alabama. They barely beat Ole Miss. They
What the
barely
hell do
beat.
you mean kind of a fraud? Oh, no.
But they're not. They certainly were not the 3rd team in the country. They weren't.
10-2
State-
played an SEC
Penn-
schedule. Now,
The
if you want me to
SEC
start
is-
throwing out some U of
But
H
the SEC
teams that
is
you
down
guys are
this year.
12-0 against.
But the SEC is so down this year.
Well, where would U of H rank in the SEC this year?
They would
Right
probably.
above
But
Vanderbilt?
we're not talking about U of H. I haven't mentioned U of H for the title
No, but you
yet.
mentioned Arkansas.
Drop
and
the
that brought me
Arkansas
up.
reference.
Well, I know,
No,
but
Arkansas is a top 10 team. They're just
sure
like
they
the
are.
3rd team.
But all right, here are their best wins. Penn State, who's garbage this year. Honestly, they have 2 losses, but that's a bad team. And what? A 7-5 Auburn team.
But I don't. But there's not any doubt in my mind that Arkansas beats West Virginia at West Virginia, beats Oregon.
But they weren't on their schedule, and Oklahoma State has 5 wins over top 25 teams.
Well, I think Oklahoma State's loss was a fluke. I mean, they could very easily be
They're
undefeated.
the team
Then I think
of
it'd be
all of
the-
them that deserve another shot. I mean, the problem, if you have
Let's
Arkansas
just see
and
if they
LSU
beat Oklahoma first.
Right,
That's the
right.
thing.
And I think they will.
Let's see if they beat Oklahoma first.
it's a home game, right?
It's a home game.
Right.
Oklahoma's not the same team since they've lost Dominic Whaley and Ryan Broyles. They're not the same team. They still have 2 really good receivers. I think their quarterback's overrated. Their defense is pretty good, but their secondary can be had. I don't think it's beyond the realm of possibilities that Oklahoma State wins that game by 2 to 3 touchdowns.
Take that bet.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
take that.
Allegedly, if we were to be betting,
My
I
problem
would take
is-
that. Just so you're giving me Oklahoma in 21?
LSU went into Alabama and won there. You're going to have a rematch on a neutral site, which is really going to be, it may be neutral if it's LSU and Alabama in New Orleans. But you had these 2 teams playing again. You're going to give the national championship to the winner of the 2nd game if Alabama wins. I mean,
Well, the other thing that's so
gonna
screwed
split
about the
season
BCS,
series.
Alabama gets to sit back and watch LSU have to play Georgia
They
first, so
were
they get
rooting for
punished.
LSU to beat Arkansas,
Right.
so LSU has to play an extra game.
And even though LSU can lose and still go, what about injuries? What about injuries?
Well, do you think that though? Do you think if LSU do you think it matters if LSU wins this game or not?
I don't. There's already precedent. Oklahoma got rolled 35-7 by Kansas State back in 2004, and they still played LSU for the national championship, and they got rolled, but they were undefeated, played the Big 12 championship, got destroyed 35-7, still played for the national championship.
That's true.
And-
Same thing with Nebraska.
Oh, Nebraska was worse to me.
Yeah,
Don't you hate
2000.
these guys that have facts to back up their argument?
I just and
Like a bunch of lawyers.
Hate when that happens.
I
bunch of lawyers.
I
just-
get in front of the judge in BS and hope he doesn't catch me.
And here's the other thing too is, and again, I think LSU's going to roll Georgia, so I don't even think it matters could they lose the game, whatever. But if you're LSU, I mean, you already beat Alabama once. I know there isn't another team, but if this was a playoff, that'd be one thing. But Alabama already had their shot at LSU, and
The only way I would go with that is saying that, I would say, okay, LSU won by a field goal in overtime, but the fact that they went into Tuscaloosa and did that, which is a very tough place to
Absolutely.
play.
That
Listen,
to me earns them not having to play.
Like I said, if there was anybody else that I thought was remotely in the same,
And Oklahoma State's not that team?
they're brutal.
I like to see
think
USC play them.
USC now. That's the thing,
Right.
and that's the cool thing about a playoff because you remember USC this year and USC back in what was it, 2002, one of Carroll's first years there. Remember they started off 2-2.
oh, the year they beat Iowa. in the Orange
I think it was
Bowl.
Carson Palmer's
Yeah, Carson
Heisman
Palmer.
year. Same way. You have a playoff. They were one of the best teams in the nation.
That's who's hot at the end of the year, yeah.
And I don't know. There's a lot of teams that would want to play USC right now.
No, they're red hot. Matt Barkley's not getting any run for the Heisman. We
They're
didn't even mention
killing
it.
people.
He's playing
Killing them.
fantastic football.
Killing people.
Do you think Matt Barkley is a lock to go second if he comes out behind Luck in the draft?
You mean the second quarterback or
Yeah.
the second pick?
Second pick.
I think he might be approaching second pick status.
I think he's
I don't
close.
think so.
He's
Another
pretty-
touchdown for
he's
Jimmy
pretty
Graham.
impressive.
He hadn't had one yet.
Yeah, it's a second.
I see Matt Barkley as
slant.
Colt
Oh,
McCoy.
no, they marked him out at the half-yard line.
That's it. Now just hand off.
If you're Barkley, though, if you're Barkley, you probably could be a top 5 pick. But since the money really is kind of a non-factor now with the way the salaries are structured, you could also be in the same boat as being the Andrew Luck of next year. You go back to a USC team that now is eligible
That's
to
a
play for the
touchdown.
postseason. You probably are the preseason Heisman favorite, and you might have a national championship caliber team.
Well, the USC guys on the team told me that, listen, he's a different guy. His whole dream was to play for USC and to win a national championship at USC. That, from what I'm told, they're not hurting for money in that family, and that they would not be surprised one bit if he came back.
Yeah, I understand. Everybody I've talked to out there said they think he's going to come
Yeah.
back.
Really?
So, I mean, and
Wow.
I said, well, he could be the top 5 pick. I mean, he's a lock pretty much for a top 5 pick.
He could be number 1 next year, though.
Yeah, but right now it doesn't matter anymore. I mean, the slotting system, you're not talking about 70 compared to 40 anymore. You're talking
It's
about
22 instead of 21.
20, yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
You know what
The
would
only
make
guy
the,
that's still worried about that is Jake Locker.
you know what
Could have come out the year before for $50 million.
You know what would make a great television special, though? And we talked about this on the show a couple weeks ago, that you remember the whole LeBron James decision thing, blah, blah, blah. That was terrible. But remember what a big deal it was that Russell Wilson was a free agent, basically could go wherever he wanted because he was a graduating senior, ended up going to Wisconsin, was a big deal. Andrew Luck graduates this May. He can go wherever he wants for 1 year. Can you imagine if Andrew Luck became a free agent in college? He could go to Texas. He could go to
That
Florida.
sounds good to
We went
me.
to Alabama or LSU.
He could go to. That's what I'm saying. What if Andrew Luck said, you know what?
They have a quarterback on one of those
I got
teams?
a
Oh, my
year.
God.
I can take 3 hours of ballet dancing or whatever the heck I want to take.
Hey.
I want to win a national championship.
We
That's
need a
what I wanna
quarterback
do.
in Texas, in Austin. We can go for that.
Imagine if Andrew Luck played for LSU or Alabama. Oh my God!
You
Go
tell
down as
me
one of the
if
best
you
ever.
put-
That's the thing that amazed me with both those programs. Those were the best quarterbacks they could roll out.
Les Miles would
you
still
know what,
rotate
you know what's
quarterback.
crazy about look across the country? Everyone except USC. USC just keeps finding quarterbacks. I think that's a lot because they're in California and whatever, they develop them well out there. But look how bad it is. Florida State, Miami, Florida, Alabama, LSU, Texas. I mean, it's brutal how bad the quarterbacks are now. Like, I mean, we haven't had a good quarterback at Miami since. People like to crap on Brock Berlin. I don't think he was. I mean, you can't go 11-2 and be that bad of a quarterback. But I mean, even a legit Ken Dorsey. That's a long time. That's damn near 10 years ago. It's just pretty amazing that some of these colleges are doing it.
So are the Giants doing their usual late season swoon?
It sure seems like it, right?
They've got a brutal schedule in the second half. Toughest
And he's
in
on
the
the
NFL.
but he's on the hot
Is
seat.
Coughlin?
Oh yeah.
You know what's going to kill them is that loss to Seattle.
Yeah.
I mean,
They flew cross country to beat them too.
They killed my suicide pool. on that thing.
How large does that loom now? You look at that as Giants losing to Seattle. That's that right there. It's not the late season schedule that's going to kill them because they beat the Patriots and even they go 3-4. Whatever.
I'm glad you brought that up. I am in a suicide pool, or the
still in
winners
it?
pool.
Still?
There were 1,040 people at $30 a piece. So you can do that.
sounds familiar.
30 grand. I picked you guys yesterday, and you guys came through for me. Yes.
The one rule I've learned of suicide pools: never take the road team.
Yeah.
Like it has to be a very, very
Yep.
specific case that you will take a road team.
And
because
try to avoid
and it
divisional
was you
rivals.
guys versus Jacksonville. It was a very specific case.
So how many people are left out of the 1,000 that
Right now
entered?
we're down to 60.
60. Wow.
You ever been in any survivor pool?
Possibly. I was in this deal a couple years ago called Simon's Pool. It's this pretty famous deal between Houston and Dallas. A bunch of people get in it. I don't know. This one had 856 people in it. It was $100 a piece.
Right.
I won it.
And you're
Won it
bitching
outright?
about national championship tickets?
Holy cow.
So, and it was amazing. And because you'd think and I think this is a recent phenomenon, you'd think that a suicide pool in the NFL wouldn't last longer than 6-7 weeks. Because upsets happen all the time. This particular year, it went all the way down to the last game.
I
the
had
Super
one that
Bowl.
went that far, too.
Had the Saints, other guy had the
to the
Colts.
Super Bowl.
Oh,
wow.
yeah.
We went to like week 15.
2 weeks ago, I was the only guy that picked St. Louis. but they were playing Cleveland after you guys beat up Cleveland, and they were.
You were sweating that one.
St. Louis.
Yeah, that's what everybody on the pool
They
said.
took an all-pro
Well,
long
Bradford was
snapper
back.
to
Bradford
fumble a
was back.
snapback to win it.
I also took Carolina against Jacksonville.
Wow.
So I won.
Wow. So that's
I
what
have
it
a
takes.
rule.
It takes balls like that to
Yeah.
win a suicide
I do
ball.
2 suicide pulls every year. And I have a rule. I never pick the same games, right? Because, there's
You don't want to
upsets.
get eliminated twice.
Right. This year, the Giants are home against the Seahawks. Seahawks look like crap. I'm like,
Yeah.
they got
to fly cross country to play them.
And I'm out in both of them. Like, never do that again. Broke my own rule.
I think we lost 400 and something players out of the 1,000 on that Seahawks Giant game.
Although that is a strategy, though, to go against the
Well,
the
that
big-time
and I
favorites.
think you got to find who the real stinker is. I mean,
Yeah.
obviously, if you watch the Colts, you're saying, okay,
whoever's playing them.
that's what. Yeah, I mean, but that's
Well,
not
I
a
thought I
bad
had one
strategy.
in
You
week-
start hopping on them.
I
But
did
see,
that.
that's how I felt about Cleveland.
I thought that
said
they did
these
that in
guys
week
are bad.
1. I thought the Bengals were going to be terrible, so I was like, let me get Cleveland out of the way. They might win this one. And then they lost. They had a big lead and they blew it.
That's the other thing. Take the sure thing early in the year. Get till week 3 or 4 where you kind of have a feeling on how bad the teams are, and stay
That's
away
the
from
biggest thing.
and
You know,
stay
everybody
away from
tries
road teams if you
to
can.
outthink this. Well, I'm going to take some of these teams now, and that kills you.
I remember-
Take the sure winners, and then down the road, see who's hot during that stretch.
You who are picking the Rams to win, I would never pick
Tell ya,
them to win.
Well,
tons-
Bradford was back, and Steven Jackson was healthy.
It'd have to go 32 weeks before I
playing
pick,
Cleveland.
or 31.
Tons of people got eliminated in the Texas 5A football suicide pool I was in with Katie losing to LaPorte this week. Okay, maybe.
5A.
I was going to say, if you're in a 5A football pool, you need Gamblers Anonymous.
Tom, I don't know if
And
you guys
advisor.
just noticed this, but Tom
Fake punt.
Coughlin's head just blew off. Weatherford tried a fake punt run.
Fake punt.
You think he did it on his own?
Down by 25.
I don't know,
Tom
but from 10
Coughlin
yards,
just went scanners.
it wasn't that it was a 4th and 1. It was 4th and 10.
Flag on the play. Please be against the Saints.
Unsportsmanlike.
Taunting.
Oh.
15 yards?
Yeah, but after the play though.
So change of possession anyway.
Yeah.
Show Tom Coughlin. I just want to see his head explode on national TV.
He went scanners. Did you ever see the movie Scanners?
I'm
Robert
just-
Veins.
I mean, how long does Weatherford stay on this team? I mean, he kicked it right down the middle to Sean Jackson.
You think he did it on his own?
Cost them.
No, that was a different guy.
He's going after
That
his
guy
special
got
teams guy.
cut already, didn't he? The guy the guy that kicked it to Sean Jackson last year got cut.
Did he?
Oh, yeah.
I thought that
Like
was
the next
Weatherford.
week, didn't
Yeah.
he?
They did a special on him at the start of the year because nobody's picked him up yet, and he's like, I don't even know if I'm ever going to get
He's
another
the
chance
Steve
again.
Bartman of the NFL.
He is.
Well, the Saints realize they should just run the ball, right? No
You
more
are-
throws to
You
Grant.
are down 35.
If anybody wants stats, Sean Payton.
How about
Sean Payton wants
put
stats.
your backup in? What if Drew Brees trips a cleat on the 48 and blows something out? Or what if he
That's what I
throws
like
that
about
awesome
Breeze.
pass?
He sees that the screen isn't going to work. He just dumps it in the ground. Take an incompletion and move on to the next play.
Did you see Drew Brees when he was actually on Oprah, and Oprah goes, "Hey, you got something on your face?"
That was
he goes,
ridiculous.
He said, "That's not coming off. That's a birthmark." He goes, "Oh, I'm
That
sorry."
really happened?
Yes, she
Yes.
legitimately thought he had makeup on his face.
That had to be embarrassing for her.
You should have seen when Gorbachev was on. It was really embarrassing. He turned his head.
There we go. Now we're cooking. We got another quarter of this. We got another
I
quarter.
told
of
Robert, I said, once
birthmark jokes
Oprah
and
stepped down, the most
whatnot.
powerful female on TV now is Ryan Seacrest.
Keep them coming, fellas. Keep them coming. We're here all night. Keep them coming.
Twice on Saturday, 2-drink minimum.
There you go. Keep them coming.
I believe at the end of the third quarter, since this game is so close, we're going to have a foosball, another round 2.
Again?
A best or a
I really feel like it
quickest
was.
to 3.
Yeah, I really feel like it was so close the last time. We just needed it. This was earlier when Drew Brees was doing his Barry Sanders impersonation. Oh, look at that.
For a little guy, he's pretty good. I mean, how many 6-foot
remember.
quarterbacks?
What other
Can
coach
do what
would
he
still be
does.
throwing the ball deep like this?
Just think how history would have been different. If the Dolphins had signed Drew Brees, Nick Saban would have never gone back to college football. Alabama would still be going through Shula brothers.
Next up,
David, when we get out of the steakhouse
I mean,
and
are
back
you
into
pretty surprised? Are you pretty surprised? No, that's not the guy that went to Alabama. The guy that went to
No, I'm
Mike.
saying that's his brother. They go to the next brother.
Yeah.
Mike
The next
Shula.
Shula.
Mike's out, David in.
David was the
Head
youngest.
coaching
Are
experience.
you pretty surprised? Like it's always surprising. Like really proud programs like that, the head coaches they went through to get the Nick Saban.
Yeah, well, I mean
Mike
Curry
DeBose.
went 9-2 at Alabama, but he wasn't a Bear Bryant guy, so they got rid of him.
Well, I
Bill
thought that
Curry.
he didn't.
Really?
He lost to Auburn 3 straight years, right?
Who did?
I don't know.
He did.
Well, they played Miami in the Sugar Bowl because I went to that game when Alabama.
Oh, they
played
won the
Miami.
national title with Stallings.
No, we're talking
Yeah,
about
the Stallings
Curry.
came in after Bill Curry.
Oh, Bill Curry. Yeah, Bill Curry lost 3 in a row to, and he was forced to go.
Do you
coach
watch?
Kentucky.
Anybody watch that ESPN the Roll Tide?
Oh, it was
Roll
awesome.
Eagle?
It was awesome. That Harvey Updike guy.
Is-
You know who was a dead ringer for me? You ever seen Bowling for Columbine?
Yes.
He was Nichols, the Nichols brother. He was a dead ringer for the Nichols brother.
Just as absolute psycho.
Psycho.
That was crazy.
and now is he dying? He's got some sort of disease now.
No, the trees are dying.
do.
No. I think
Updike?
Harvey
I don't know.
Updike
You're
is
talking about the guy
dying
that
of
poisoned the
something.
tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they kind of put. He's part of the show.
I heard he's trying to. I mean, basically.
Oh, he's gonna kill himself.
Well, I heard that it's happening anyway, not by
Really?
choice.
Remember what he
yeah.
named his kids? Did you see that?
Was it
Alabama,
Alabama? Yeah.
Crimson Tide, and Bear Bryant. And what was the one that he wanted to name him, and his
cow.
wife said, "No, you can't. That's too much," or something. It was something even worse, like Houndstooth.
That's a
or
tough
something
name
like
to go
that.
through high school with as a chick, Bear Bryant. You're basically dating your brother at the senior prom, if you know what I'm saying.
Fantastic. This Steve Gleason story is sad. It's scary.
What's
What's
deal
the
with
story?
that?
He
Steve
played for
Gleason.
him, right?
They when we played them in New Orleans, they had a unbelievable article about him. He was the guy that blocked the punt on the first
post-Katrina.
Post-Katrina. He's the guy
Yeah.
that blocked the punt. He's got ALS now.
Oh, really?
And he's just adventurer. There he is right there. He's this adventurer. He's done all these unbelievable things. He's scaled these mountains. He just got done with his MBA at Tulane. Like he's had a bucket list and he's just gone through it. And that's the kind of life he's led. And now he's said a couple of years ago he felt this twitching going on and couldn't explain it. And
That's a brutal way to go because your mind's intact.
And
when
that's
you find
what
that
he was the honorary coin toss when we played him.
your throat just collapses on stuff. You suffocate.
He could barely walk out there to do the coin toss, and I was, of course, my dumb read the article like the morning of the game, and I'm like, oh, yeah.
Okay, let me get this straight. The
Poor
team
guy.
that's got 35
I was like, you think I'm
points-
gonna have ALS? This is sad.
The team that's got 35 points is still throwing it deep, and the team that has 10 points is still running the
They're
ball.
running the ball because that's what they need to work on. How'd you like to be that guy with a whistle on your head? Really? A whistle on
Do
your
you
head?
think there's a such thing as running up the score in the NFL?
No.
Oh, yeah.
Not if you have the over.
What's the over in this game?
Oh, I have no idea.
48 and a half?
Not if you're out. Yeah. What is it?
Actually, I do. It's like 48 and a half, I think.
It's like it's around. It's around, or it is.
It's probably 48.
Well, I don't know what it is, but I got it at 48 and a half.
This goes back to that junior high survival pool he's in.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, gentlemen, we're getting ready to go to the fourth quarter. Should we dial up Foosball again?
Oh, God.
Cookie, you think we can take him?
Oh, yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right, Kami, you're with me.
All right.
What's your hook on your pants? Is your hook on right?
You want to play offense or defense?
How do we?
I wasn't very good at offense.
Okay.
Exactly.
Oh, we got the.
I'm going to try the Matt Jackson school of
That's how you do it.
offense.
That's how you roll. All right, ready?
Oh, man, you guys are doing that stuff.
Ooh, good defense. Good defense.
Oh, good, Robert.
Oh!
Bam!
He got
Yeah,
lucky.
you know what? He started hot.
Someone's a quick study. Someone's a quick
He
study.
wears out. He doesn't have the stamina for the
There you go.
game.
Same thing as last time.
His conditioning. I don't.
Look at this. Oh, there's steel wall.
Look,
Just lift the
he'll just
table
turn
up.
the table.
I make Jesus references. You just make random noises.
Yeah, well, you know, after your 11th year getting hit in the head, you'll be making those noises too.
Oh,
Big bad Bobby Henslee.
Bobby Henslee. I
Big
love
bad
it.
Bobby Henslee. Whoa!
There's another one in there.
4.
I need protective eyewear with this guy.
It's like racquetball. I'm gonna poke an eye out. Oh!
Lucky with a save.
Rob
Not
the kid.
Just lift the
Nah. Hey man, that was my patented move.
Oh! I'll take it.
On
I
goal.
scored
There you go.
3
There's your
goals.
over.
Oh,
There's your over.
good.
72 yards.
Hey, when that happens.
It wasn't Team
72
Knicks, was
yards.
it? That's
No,
okay,
Victor
then.
Cruz.
Victor
Okay, that's
Cruz.
quick while he's watching the game.
Good. Oh, you're killing me.
That one worked. Oh.
There you go. There you go.
Field position. Field position. Get it down here. Get into their zone.
No! Not so fast. Cheating. Watch that spin move.
Surgically to a dead stop.
Oh, he hits the post.
Oh, no.
Denied.
Oh, man. Had it.
Is that
Am I
equivalent?
supposed to be sweating playing foosball?
Is that equivalent to when the goalie in soccer? Oh, nice. Just like
scores.
launches it
Long
from his
range.
own.
Robert, let me
Yeah, right?
explain this to you. You got to keep these guys down.
I had him down, didn't I?
All right.
Just like doing a show with that.
All right,
Wait,
y'all have two.
that was 3 actually, but
That was 3?
Yeah.
Oh, but we scored 1 against ourselves.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
good one, Rob.
Oh!
Save it. Save it.
Oh no.
Had the shot there.
Get in there. Oh!
He's denied on the open net.
Negative.
Man, I can't reach it.
You heard that before.
You get a corner kick.
Not the first time.
Other way, Jim Bob.
Oh no, I messed
Oh,
it up.
Robert, you put him down when I'm shooting. Yes.
Christ.
You know, is it bad that I got recruited by Penn State and not one coach even hit on me? Too soon? I'm sorry.
Help!
Not yet, there, Tiny.
You weren't one of the prize recruits.
Matt had to move it.
You didn't play defense, huh?
Oh my God.
I believe we're tied 3-3.
All right, next one wins.
I like the skill. Yeah, I can pick this table up too. We're playing it, hold it up here, shoulder level.
Bam!
I was too busy talking.
Go!
I'd like to announce my retirement as the official 2-0 champion of
Too
foosball.
busy talking smack and I get scored on.
I think I,
About those poor Penn State coaches.
They're victims.
They're all victims there.
speaking of Penn State, would you take that job?
It depends.
I mean, it's tough to follow Paterno and all the, the.
I would take it.
accusations
I
there.
would definitely. I think it's a great job. The only way I would take it is if, obviously, they have to hire a president right now, and I think.
And the Texans cut you.
Okay. Okay. So let's just say the Texans cut me, and let's say Penn State offers me something like Urban Meyer got.
Yeah.
And.
$7 million a year.
You'd be taking a pay cut.
Something along those lines. Anyways, but if the president promised that it's a clean slate, everyone's out, that Tom Bradley's out, all of them are out, and you know what, you might end up cutting off a few heads that are innocent, but you have to. You cannot keep, the interim AD right now is I've heard is lobbying for Tom Bradley to stay. There's no way some of these people didn't know what's going on. And the problem to me is that over the next couple of years, you're going to have trials. It's going to be in the news. You're going to have, and the worst thing that can happen is this thing stays with your program.
This thing's only going to get uglier before it gets better.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's going to get worse before it gets better. But the thing is, you can do is you can have nobody around. Like if it comes out and said Tom Bradley obviously knew what was going on, at least he's somewhere else. At least he's not there anymore, because then it's like, wait, does Penn State really care about this? Does Penn State really want to clean up their average? Because if they did, they get rid of everybody. They've cut off the head now. They've gotten off of everybody. The Board of Trustees probably should be forced to step down too. I mean, everybody should probably go, and they should start with a clean slate. But you have to, if you're a head coach, and then you have to bring in everyone new.
I never understood how Paterno was still recruiting anyway. Well, I really enjoyed it when I recruited your grandfather.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't understand how he was reaching out anyway.
He wasn't doing
But
anything.
he's a legend there. I mean, his name alone opens doors that.
Evidently.
Yeah, well,
the second mile.
Oh, God.
The problem with it's not just
too soon.
The allegations and everything surrounding their program. I wouldn't want to follow a legend anyway, because the guy who follows the legend never works out, in most cases at least. And also, I'm not sure Penn State is an elite school anymore.
Eric hit it right on the head, though. If you don't just wipe the slate clean, I mean, when you're, from a lawyer's standpoint, when you're looking to give a guy bail, the two things you consider are, number one, what's his risk of flight, and number two, what's the chance of his continuing to be a harm or hurtful to the community. Well, here's a guy that's in his 60s that, if he goes to jail, is going to spend the rest of his life there, and secondly, is a serial child molester. And you let him walk, and then it turns out the judge who let him out on a $100,000 bail was on the board.
Yeah. How about that? Crazy. That's, to me, is Jesus.
How does the judge not remove themselves from the case?
Herself. Yeah, how should she not recuse herself?
I don't know. That's what I'm saying. There's so much now that everybody thinks that Happy Valley is this one little, we're not going to cooperate with anybody, we're going to protect everybody. That's why you got to wipe the whole slate clean for anybody to have any faith in anybody up there.
I think you're right. Matt, what say you?
I'm from up there. It's just a horrible story, and it's just. I mean, there's a reason why it was called the Happy Valley. I mean, it was almost. Remember the movie Pleasantville? It was somewhat like that.
Hello, neighbor.
Right, exactly. I mean, everything revolved around that university. Everything revolved around, really, Joe Paterno. I mean, everything he meant in terms of all the buildings he's built, all the money he's raised. Everything that he's about. I've never seen an interview. I've never seen anybody more conflicted than Matt Millen was when he was interviewed on Sports Center. Well, I think it was Chris McKendry.
Board member.
And to see him conflicted because Joe Paterno is somebody that he absolutely loves, and Sandusky too. Like you mentioned, he's on the board. That was his coach. You can't believe everything that's coming out, because you want to be able to stand up for them, you want to be able to defend them, and I don't know that we're ever going to hear the total, complete dope on everything that went down, or that we're ever going to. I mean, I think it's somewhat unfair, and maybe it's for legal purposes, that Paterno's never had a chance to stand in front of the media and take questions.
Well, he does now.
Well, I know one thing from a lawyer standpoint. If my clients charged with 40 counts of sexual abuse. He doesn't talk to anybody in the media, and this guy's given.
But Paterno's not accused.
No, I'm talking about.
Paterno
I'm
can
just
do it
talking about the
Now
legal aspect of it.
Penn State would not allow him
No,
to do
Paterno
it.
can do it now. He's fired. Paterno can do it
Right,
now.
but there are still reasons because he's getting a state pension, and there are other reasons.
There's other
why.
reasons because he's lawyered up. He hired one of the best criminal lawyers out of New York. So
he's a party to the lawsuit.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Well,
He's going to face a lot of civil action.
Yeah.
Yeah, he might.
Here's the questions I have. Jerry
Are you one of those
Sandusky
people that really think Joe Paterno
retires
didn't
at
know?
55? Why?
I don't know what he knew. I really
he's up
don't.
for the
I don't know what he
Virginia
knew.
job
Did you read
and
the grand
supposed to
jury
get it, didn't
report?
I
get
read
it.
the grand
Why?
jury report, but I don't know that that's all the. I don't know that that's the complete and total story of what he did or what he did or didn't know.
But does there need to be? To me, I guess does there need to be anything else you need to know?
Yeah, I don't know.
And here's the thing. Here's the thing: is I could get past. Okay, in some kind of world, and I don't want to seem like I still think not have to call the police is still crazy, but I can still get past it if you didn't call the police. Okay, I said okay, I gave it to my supervisors, whatever. That's to me is the worst excuse out of all of them. I gave it to my supervisors.
Well, that's the
I
only
gave it to
thing
my
that I side
supervisor.
with
This
Joe
is a
Paterno
bad-
on.
We just had
That is
another
a bad one.
defenseless receiver
In
shot
that
here.
that's the situation that a lot of schools and universities.
And that's with Jimmy Graham getting taken out.
Now we got a little.
Did they kick out Jimmy Graham?
No,
Jimmy Graham got
They just
I
went,
think
he got bent in half.
He got kicked out, but in a different way.
Yeah.
Is this the replay? All right. This
All right, I
is
still
about as
don't-
bad as it gets right here. Boom.
Ooh, that's
helmet to
head-to-head.
helmet. Launched himself.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Then
he
I'm
is
back.
Now,
split
is that
in
a
half.
suspension? If
I don't
this
think
guy's
it's
not a
no.
previous offender,
I don't think
can
it's
it be? Because this is the textbook.
Yeah.
Launch yourself into his
yeah,
head.
that's
And
bad.
that was using your helmet as a weapon right there.
That's gotta hurt.
Very flexible.
And that's my fantasy tight end. I'm going to be ticked if he's out for the next game.
Well, let me ask you this. Well, I guess they scored. That's why they're still throwing.
Oh,
the
no,
ball.
wait a minute. Did he,
No,
on that angle, did he make contact with the head?
I think he hit his helmet.
Okay.
Getting back to your point though on Paterno, one thing keep in mind: one of the first guys to get fired, resigned, is this associate AD, vice president financial, whatever.
Curley.
The other guy. The other guy that got fired, one of his job titles is he's the head of the university
Curley,
police
sure.
department. And this is the guy that apparently a lot of people turn this over to, and the thought being by us talking to him, we are turning this over to the university. There are reports out there are stories out there that haven't been made public to the media that Paterno actually did follow up on a number of occasions. Followed up and said, "What's the deal here? Why isn't this being handled?" And that this particular AD said, "I'm handling it. I'm handling it.
Okay,
I'm handling
But
it."
now you got other Penn State personnel coming out and saying the football program was told never to cooperate with anybody
Right.
that got in trouble.
That's what I've read.
And I want to know what happened to this prosecutor that just disappeared.
Oh, Ray Grecar. I went to school with Ray Grecar's daughter.
And his brother disappeared.
His brother
as well.
also disappeared.
His brother killed himself
like 8 years before
and
that.
and then he disappeared, and it's really bizarre, the whole timing of the whole deal. How you don't, this DA actually set up a perfect sting operation and has Sandusky on tape saying that he molested one of these guys, and for some reason they couldn't file charges then.
And here's the thing too. I was about to make my point is that okay, it's one thing if you don't call the police or you feel like you did the right thing, but to me is how do you continue to let him back in the building? That's where I think Paterno got himself in trouble, and I think that's where he got fired. Is that excuse me?
Yeah, the week before he was seen in the locker room.
It wasn't. Yeah, it wasn't the. I don't know if it was the fact that he didn't call the police or he didn't. I think what really did him in was the fact that Sandusky, up until this broke, a week before that he was still working out in the weight room. I think that's what did him in at the end of the day, and I think that was the total lack of control that was shown, and I think that's.
I just don't think, honestly, and maybe I'm underrating it. The guy is 82 years old. I don't know. While he probably knows, I really don't know how much he's involved with the day-to-day operations of what's going on out there. It's
Yeah, but
not
this
quite
didn't happen when he was
Then it shouldn't be
82.
the
This
head
happened when he was
football
back in the early 70s.
Well, even still, even to that point, I'm not saying he was to the Bobby Bowden level of just being out on a golf cart and hand clapping and doing nothing, but the day-to-day operations, he had Frank Ganner, who was his longtime offensive coordinator, was there as kind of his ops guy that kind of sort of ran things. Paterno was, I don't want to say he was a figurehead, but I think he's probably less involved than maybe people think.
Wow, I don't know about that.
Yeah, but you see where if you're not from up there, what it looks
like. No, I mean less involved in the
Sandusky's
actual what's going on on a day-to-day basis.
And then they say he's up for the Virginia's job, and all of a sudden he doesn't get it.
Yeah. Or all of a sudden just doesn't get
right.
it. And then how about Bradley? It was up for the Pitt job last year, and then all of a sudden doesn't get it. Like, holy cow, just Bradley all of a sudden just doesn't get this job after he's tied into the state of Philadelphia.
But is Bradley, I don't think Bradley's implicated in all this. I mean, I
don't think the implication is that Bradley roomed with McCreary. Roomed with McCreary for 8 years or something like that, or I don't know, 8 years, but they lived together.
Right.
Because unfortunately Bradley's wife passed away a while ago, and so McCreary and them lived together. And so you're saying that McCreary saw this.
Right, didn't tell his roommate.
And then didn't say to one of the oldest other members, who's Bradley and Sandusky work out together every morning. Right. And we're working out together every morning for the week ago.
Yeah.
And then McCreary goes to this guy's, after he supposedly sees it, or obviously the grand jury felt like he saw it, and then a month later or a week later
plays in the golf tournament.
Plays in the golf tournament.
I just don't think all these coaches should be automatically blackballed. I really don't. Do I really know what Larry Johnson Sr. knew? Do I really know what Ron Vanderliden knew? Do I really know what
they all knew?
I'm not saying
you cannot. You
Do you really think that many adults would protect a child molester? Do you really believe that?
I'm not buying that. I think that many. I'm not saying that they knew that there was specific child molest, but they knew something was going on. They knew something was going on, and no one ever mustered up enough voice to say, "Hey, do you think he should be at least around here? Don't you think we should kind of make sure he doesn't step on campus?" I said, I'm not saying that they ever had anything. I'm not saying Larry Johnson ever had something to go to the police with. I'm not saying that Bradley even maybe had something to go to the police with. But they all had enough to say, you know what, he shouldn't be here.
I mean, that's my point.
That's my point. Is
until
that
we get to the bottom of this, you can't be around this program at all.
And that's why you have to clean house. You don't blackball those assistant coaches, but you clean house.
Oh, I don't know. I think it's going to be very difficult for them to get jobs.
I agree.
But
here's my problem with McCreary.
Well, name the assistant coach at Penn State. I couldn't do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If you're McCreary and you saw what you saw, and you say to yourself, you know what, I did my channels. I don't want to come out as a whistleblower because I want to be able to have a job somewhere else. You know, someone was making that argument to me, and I said, that's fine. Go get a job somewhere else. You're telling me you're an assistant at Penn State and you can't get a job somewhere else?
Right, but you got to understand, too, from his standpoint, I'm sure there was so much shock because this guy is from State College, went to State College High. Sandusky, he's known Sandusky since he was 12 years old.
No, wait. I don't care where he's from. Yeah. What he saw was inexcusable. And, they portray him as, well, there's this graduate assistant, like he's some 18-year-old kid out there helping out. He's a 28-year-old adult male who saw another adult male molesting, let's don't even call it molesting, because molesting is too nice, raping a 10-year-old. You go over and punch him right in the melon, and you go tell Joe Paterno, you go to the cops yourself.
Call the cops, and that's what I'm saying. Even if, and someone was making this, well, he went to Paterno, he didn't want, if he would become a whistleblower, his coaching career is over, and I can make the argument that, well, that's just the way life goes. But you know what? If that meant that much to you, but how do you stick on? How do you keep going to the golf tournament? How do you keep going to the golf tournament?
Hey, the guy that turned in Dave Bliss for all the crap at Baylor, you know how many days he's worked since then? 0.
And that's what I'm saying. If you don't want to be the whistleblower, if you don't want to be that guy, that's fine. But how do you stay there? That's my thing is, if you're McCreary, how do you stay there? Why? I mean, the whole thing is absolutely out of control and is beyond my comprehension, because you have this guy that supposedly saw all this stuff that is totally fine with passing Sandusky in the hall and going to his golf tournaments after he saw him raping a kid. You have this figurehead, Paterno, that from all accounts was told exactly what happened, but nothing was done. And the fact that nothing was done, but Sandusky was still allowed to come back in the building. It's so odd to me.
What do you think about what's going on up at Syracuse?
Jim
Boeheim should be fired?
I don't know.
Jim Boeheim called
I don't know exactly.
Jim Boeheim called the victims lying extortionists.
And if that becomes exactly, and if that becomes true, I mean, if if they are true in what they've said, then absolutely Boeheim.
Well, I think the tape with Fine's wife, where she's talking to one of the
Right.
victims.
But didn't one of the victims bang Fine's wife?
Yes.
I don't know. Can you
Yes,
say
right?
bang on the
I don't know.
FCC?
Yeah, we're on the internet. We can say whatever we want. We can say whatever we want.
That conversation,
I
the
see. I don't
recorded
know.
conversation is
For whatever
disgusting.
reason, I delved in. I've read every single article I could about the Penn. It's just fascinated me. I can't say I've read some of the, but what's happened recently with the videos, I haven't. I just haven't. I have some emails that from articles, and I just have not got. I mean, enlighten me. I seriously. I heard Paterno though. He actually rented out a bunch of private jets and was flying reported out of State College up to Syracuse. So whoever wanted,
We're loading up the buses.
Whoever wanted to go, he actually has a bunch of citations just ready to get out of State College.
Well, I just thought it was
Free rides
interesting
for everyone to go.
that Boeheim, when given the opportunity initially to have any compassion whatsoever, immediately said, "This guy's a liar. They looked into this. It wasn't true. He's looking to get money."
Yeah.
And now
Now
yet
you got
last night he said, "Oh, if there's anything that I said that might have been
insensitive."
Right.
Yeah.
Now he's all of a sudden apologizing. And one of the former players who's on the board of trustees at Syracuse, one of the former basketball players, said Syracuse University did the absolute right thing by firing this guy, but I believe he's innocent.
So you fire him because he's innocent? Come on.
Well, that's the same thing as what did they have the moment of silence for at Penn State?
For the victims.
Well, what victims if Sandusky's innocent?
Well, there's a presumption of innocence.
Nobody thinks
Yeah, I don't think.
These are for other child abuse victims.
Yes.
Yeah.
By the way, you're an attorney.
Don't point at me like that. Like, you know.
Hey,
What about this?
You're one of those people.
Yeah.
What objection?
Like, do you think this attorney for Sandusky is purposely giving horrible
Well,
advice
first
to
of
give
all,
a
do
mistrial?
you know the attorney for Sandusky's background?
Oh, yeah.
When he was
My
48,
dad worked with him.
He knocked up a 16-year-old.
Not only
That's
that,
child molestation
not only
of
that,
its own.
This guy, you want to know how he became an attorney?
least it was a female.
He was in real estate and lost his license for a bunch of fraudulent real estate deals in State College. Went back to school and got his law degree. The guy has been a total sleazeball for a very long time. The whole idea that he nailed a 17-year-old and got her pregnant when he was 49 is not surprising at all. He's a total sleaze. But I was wondering, is he purposely giving bad legal advice to try to set up the mistrial already?
No. I mean, ineffective counsel?
Yeah.
No. I mean, he hadn't even been tried yet. That
But
would be
what attorney would have had the
setting
Bob
up pretty good,
Costas?
though.
But what attorney would have had the Bob Costas interview happen?
none that I know of.
Correct me if I'm wrong, though. Doesn't that allow him to have some record of Sandusky admitted into evidence without actually having to put Sandusky on the stand? I mean, isn't it now?
You know where that's going to be put into
admissible
evidence? In every civil lawsuit that comes down on Sandusky, they're going to have Bob Costas go, "Are you sexually attracted to little kids?" And he goes,
Pregnant pause.
"Am I sexually attracted to little kids?" All of us up here go, "No, damn it, no, I'm not." He's going, "Let me see. Am I like to be around little kids a lot.
Maybe I did some things that were
No,
wrong.
I don't think I'm
but-
sexually attracted." That's going to be played at every trial he goes through.
Well, they have a special place for guys like that in prison, and
It's called segregation because they put them in general population. They have an honor among thieves.
Right.
They will not last.
I
long.
hope he makes it to the general population.
Yeah, but
He'll
I'm not
get
so
what
sure he wouldn't
deserves.
like it.
And if there's football in Hill, you probably have to watch Tyler Palko play quarterback all the time. It's the worst quarterback I've ever seen. Okay.
All right, I believe on that note, we will step aside again for another one-on-one segment. Eric Winston spending time one-on-one with Sports Talk 790's morning host Matt Jackson. Before Eric and Matt get into it, let's take a few minutes to look at a video of Matt and his broadcast partner, Adam Wexler, when they attended the NFL experience at last year's Super Bowl.
Here we are, the NFL experience. Up the escalators we go.
Believe it or not, we're the only people allowed in here today. We got an exclusive first look.
Can you hear the
at
buzz?
experience.
This is unreal.
Yes.
Look at this.
We got the
It's
whole-
wall-to-wall people.
Whole place to ourselves today.
I mean, I can barely get through all the foot traffic here. This is insanity.
Please.
We picked the wrong day. Making our way here.
How you doing?
Gonna have to filter through this whole line.
My hand's cold, but I'm Matt Shanks with Sports Talk 790 in Houston. What has the crowd been like so far today? What's it been like? Has it been pretty busy? Have you seen a lot of people?
He can repeat the question if you can't hear him.
It's been very.
Hold on, it's kind of loud in here. Hold on. So has it been really chaotic so far?
Yeah.
Really?
On the weekends.
Oh, really? I mean, it
Today's
looks like,
Thursday, by the way, people.
Right. I don't know. What do you think? It was kind of cold outside. I kind of think I need a coffee. Do you think I should wait in that line? It seems a little long for me. What do you think? Well, how long do you? What's the ETA for people that arrive right now to get their coffee? How long do you think it would take?
0 minutes.
0 minutes? All right, that's outstanding.
So here we are at the NFL Experience. One small problem. I've got a couple of questions I need to ask some people. So here's the place to go. Got information right here, lost and found. Let's see who's at the desk ready to answer our questions. I see nobody here ready to answer our question. There must be a huge line of people waiting to ask questions.
Okay. If
there's one person. Anyone else? Anyone? Bueller.
Have you been to Disney World before? You know how they have those little fast passes? Because there's a long line to get to Space Mountain. I saw a line for fast passes. We may want to get one because it looks like it's pretty packed here tonight.
All right, let's make our way inside.
And I'm now with the ever skinny Matt Jackson, as you can see from the. You lost a few lbs, so I was
not 40, 45 pounds.
You on Quick Light loss too?
No, that's bull. Let me not to if they're a sponsor, I apologize. I think those things are so phony and fake.
What are you doing? What
treadmill.
Are you doing these days?
Treadmill.
Yeah? Just on it?
6 miles. I recommend Nordic Track.
You're running 6 miles a day.
I do. I run 6 miles a day.
I tried to run just for fun. I just wanted to see if I could do it. The last off season, I tried to run a mile, and I didn't make it.
If you put a TV on in front of you,
this seems so much longer than it really is.
If you put a TV on in front of you, you don't even notice. You really don't.
People say that until I start breathing hard, and then I notice.
I mean, if it's Saturday morning at 6:45 and there's a good English Premier League game on.
Yeah.
Wayne Rooney, the humanity. Oh.
So like you just said, you grew up in State College. And you moved here. How old were you moved here? Probably with 10?
7 or 8.
7 or 8.
Yeah.
You moved here. Why did you move here? I guess you.
Dad got the real estate business died in Pennsylvania, and my dad got a job down here in Houston, and so he actually moved a year ahead of us, and then we moved down like '84, I believe. So, I mean. I am a native of State College, but I mean, I'm basically a Texan. I've been here for 20.
Most of your life.
Right. Most of my life. I've never really gotten the accent at all, though. I don't have an accent from really anywhere.
Well, I think if your family's from somewhere else, you don't get much of an accent. Like my family's not from Texas, and I don't feel like I have much of an accent either.
Right, but if you even spend any time in Boston or in New York or in I guess specifically there.
Or Boston and New York.
Allow me to just stereotype.
So obviously, go to UH, big fan. The thing I want to talk about, I think it's hilarious. I've heard this story. I've never asked you about it, and if people don't realize it, Matt Jackson's actually the one that got me into radio. He asked me a long time ago, "Hey, you should do this show." We actually were about going to do it. Was Ephraim and I? Remember Ephraim and I? And that didn't work out. Then the next year. We just had the show, and obviously things move on. People move on.
Yeah.
You got a better deal, but your start at radio was pretty interesting. I was told, and this is a story I was told. So that you were a longtime caller.
Oh yeah.
Of the radio show. You're a Cougar
Matt, yeah.
And then I've never really heard of how that matriculated into you actually getting on the air.
Well, basically, when I knew what I wanted to do for a long time. When I was in college at U of H, I interned at SportsRadio 610 and, worked my butt off, did a lot of remote stuff. So I used to have to crawl into the cockroach-infested, what they call the catfish hole at the Astrodome. It's where all the electrics were. And if you were setting up a remote broadcast, you had to run all these plugs into this just a horrible back area where literally there were cockroaches, rats, everything. Plug all the equipment in to set up for a broadcast you would originate it right from behind home plate of the Dome. So I did a lot of technical work for there, and I had to catalog Jim Rome shows and try to put together best of shows because they were going to rerun a best of hour from 2 to 3 each day and do stuff like that. So
I bet secretly you had a lot of fun doing that.
oh, it was phenomenal.
I bet your best of shows were pretty funny.
That was back when Rome
was
really brought it, and he was hilarious because he didn't care what anybody thought. He was much more irreverent. He did a lot of pretty funny stuff. And then I got out of my internship, got hired part-time to do some of that stuff, and then in 1999, the parent company, and I think at the time it was Viacom or Infinity or whoever it was, they felt like all their radio stations or a lot of the radio stations were sounding way too old. So they wanted to get younger voices involved. They wanted people that worked dirt cheap. I qualified for both, strangely. So I got a job doing a night show with a guy, Jeremy Foster, and we did a show from 7 p.m. to 11 p.m. And one of the reasons why we got the show is because we said we're going to do a lot of high school football stuff, and we did. Originally, we did a lot of high school football stuff, and it was so stuff that I would never listen to in my life. Now it was stuff like literally on a Friday night from 10 to 11 p.m. I would just go to the AP Wire and just read off the 9 million scores that were out there. I was like, Lano beat Van Vleck 26-16, just stupid stuff like that, and hey, I took my lumps. It was It was. I'm sure it was awful for the first year and change, whatever the case may be, and then eventually, got my chance to move up to do afternoon drive. Did afternoon drive with Rich Lord for a couple of years, and then had another opportunity to work with a guy that Adam Wexler that we were good friends off the air, and it was like, hey, let's give this a shot, and having fun with it.
So you're doing mornings now on 790.
Yeah.
And you always said to me you would rather do mornings. You like the mornings.
I might have said that. I might feel differently now.
Yeah, getting up at 5 o'clock every morning.
The one thing that I didn't like, and it was specifically doing 5 hours is very draining.
Sure.
And originally when I was doing afternoons, I was doing 2 to 6, and that was perfectly fine. When you add that 5th hour, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it really is a lot. And even now, some days, even though I'm not technically supposed to do the 5th hour, we just ended up hanging out and doing the 5th hour with Lance sometimes. But even still, 5 hours just feels like a lot. 4 hours to me is perfect. I can get out everything I want to say. It doesn't become boring. It doesn't become monotonous. It doesn't wear out your voice either.
So now you're over there, and everything's. Where are you going from here? Where's the big show
what
going?
I would like. Ideally, my dream job. Honestly, my dream job would be to be at a huge major university where my job is to do college football, college basketball, play-by-play, and host their coaches' shows, and do a lot of alumni, whatever stuff. Do a lot of. That's
like UH.
I don't think UH is ever gonna. UH is never gonna pay enough to do a big time job like that. But like Jim Hawthorne at LSU, or Craig Way at Texas, or Dave South at Texas A&M, where
Craig Way, where was he before? I know that name.
He was Bill Schoenig's sidekick for football games before Schoenig went to go to the San Antonio Spurs.
I got you.
And he does an unbelievable amount of work, because he also does television show, does all the high school football stuff on Fox on Friday nights as well, and he does all the Texas baseball games as too. I don't know that I want to work as much as he does, but that's the kind of thing that that's the one thing that I really haven't had an opportunity to do. I've done some TV, some college basketball on TV, but that's kind of I love what I do, but kind of my dream job is to be with a big time college where that's where kind of your focus is. Sure. Do the games, get to go out and watch practice and that type of thing, and be involved with a big time program like that.
Well, there you go, Matt Jackson, budding big time college host. Thanks for coming on. Appreciate it.
Hey man, my pleasure.
let anyone tell you surfing is easy. It is more difficult than running a marathon, a triathlon, playing football, and it is especially not helpful for people who are morbidly obese.
Those are some killer waves you had there. Was that
surfing in Galveston?
That was Galveston.
That was Galveston.
Grew up
I didn't know it was
surfing
safe to be in the water in
Surfside.
Galveston.
You know that it's brown. There's a little saying in Galveston: if it's brown, drink it down. If it's black, send it back. No.
Greg's waiting for something.
Believe it or not, you can actually surf.
I grew up
out there.
surfing in Surfside.
Did you?
Yeah, when hurricanes, we'd skip school when hurricanes were coming in because that's the only time we had great waves.
I have to tell you, I really want to do one or the other. Really learn how to play golf or really learn how to surf. Because I was amazed how much fun I had surfing.
Well, if you don't want to drive yourself crazy, learn to surf.
Oh, yeah.
Because golf will drive you
I'm
nuts.
terrible at golf. I'm absolutely terrible at
I've
golf.
started playing a lot, and it is.
The only way to get good at golf is to play a lot of golf.
Well,
You gotta play all the time.
but the only thing is to care a lot, though. And so it's like if you want to have a good time and go out on the course and play, it's one thing. But to get good at it, you have to get a little upset, I think, sometimes.
But you know what you'll find, though, Eric, is when you get out of football, you'll walk from one locker room into another locker room with a bunch of guys you play golf with, and it's like you never lose that. You know, when you hear about guys saying, I miss the guys, you don't ever miss that. I mean, it's pretty cool because you have the same people you go out and compete with.
Where do you play at?
Brayburn Country Club.
Is that nice?
Yeah,
I live
sure.
pretty near there. I was thinking about going out there one time.
It's a good place.
Good track?
Yeah.
Doesn't seem like golf should be that hard, but my God.
It is. It's impossible.
You got to remember the good shots. Forget
is
the bad ones.
impossible.
Just
Look, you
remember
might
the good
just
ones.
roll your hand over just a little one day to the next, and it just completely
It's all in the
screws it.
grip. Yeah.
I believe
It's a
that
game you
because
never
one day it's
master.
going left and one day it's going right.
Have you ever tried to surf? I can't imagine a guy your size on a surfboard.
Never tried.
Surfing's pretty
Oh,
awesome.
Not that I wouldn't. I've just never been around it.
Yeah, I've
You
only
need a
body surfed.
sequoia
I've
to
never-
float you. I mean, I was surfing
What are you
in high
trying to
school
say,
when I was
Pat?
like 195. You know, we need sequoias now just to float us.
I'll tell you.
A lot of babes out there surfing. Many more babes out there surfing than golfing.
Yes, I would assume so.
I would
Especially
think,
when you wear your U of H shirt.
I would think if you had season tickets to the women's surfing tour or the LPGA tour.
You're gonna
Go into
see. You're gonna
surfing.
see a few decent bodies on the surfing tour.
No offense to Amy Alcott.
Is that the chick in all the pink and she has the
No,
Amy Alcott's
She's
like
an old
60.
from the
Oh.
70s. Yeah.
Is that the one she's always in like wind pants and short butch haircut?
She's
Like
the
real
one.
big.
haircut.
She's the one that.
She's like 300 pounds.
That's the one.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Rosie O'Donnell of golf.
The one. Man, I see her every time out there. I don't know why.
You ever notice that Oprah, you know, her production company's Harpo, Oprah spelled backwards? And Rosie did the same thing, but hers says eyesore.
One night only, ladies and gentlemen.
When does the fun ever start?
Hey, as a reminder here at the 2-minute warning, next week's Not Your Ordinary Sports Show, we're back in our home Skybox studios. Great matchup, the San Diego Chargers against the Jaguars.
Oh my God!
Let's have like
that's
10
Monday Night
people
Football.
on. Let's just
But
have a roundtable discussion.
that leaves more fun
and
for us.
And we can have the TV playing the game in the background.
And let's bring the foosball table
Yeah.
with us.
How does the league decide before the season that Jacksonville's getting all these games? How could they have thought they were going to be good?
They didn't. I think they were trying to do it for attendance.
How is Norv Turner still the head coach of San Diego?
It's a good question. He won't be come January 2nd.
Yeah, it's
I
hard.
don't think.
It's hard to believe that he will be.
They should both be gone.
The big question is, does AJ Smith go? Because they've done nothing but worse ever since Schottenheimer left. Nothing but worse since Schottenheimer left.
Well, Schottenheimer could always get you the playoffs. He just couldn't win in the playoffs. But now, you know, you look at him
How's that
last
look
year,
compared
number
to
one,
this year?
number two, and I mean, number
Yeah,
one both
they were
offense and
fantastic last
defense.
year.
And everybody
Yeah.
said, "Well, it's going to be their breakout year," and they're what, 4-7.
But this year,
Yeah.
this year they're 4.
And they missed Darren Sproles some. Obviously, Rivers has been terrible, and everybody's saying he's hurt. I don't know if he's hurt or not. You know who's totally fallen apart for them, who was once a Pro Bowl player? Marcus McNeil's a disaster now.
He's been hurt too. Yeah,
But he's been a false start machine.
Yeah.
Well,
5
Antonio
penalties in one
Gates has
game.
been hurt most of the year. Malcolm Floyd's hurt.
Losing Dealman was big too, right?
Yeah. Oh, Dealman. They've had a lot of injuries, but I feel like, yeah, they've had a lot of injuries. They haven't played well in certain situations, so they really haven't.
Saints
they just,
adding another one.
They just haven't
was that
played
Ingram
well.
that time?
They're going to go for 2.
Ingram with the
Probably.
Lambeau leap.
Knowing Sean Payton will go for 2.
Why weren't they putting a knee on it right there? What was that, 4th down
It
or
was
3rd
just
down?
a little shovel.
I don't know, but if you had under 71, I'm sorry, you just lost.
I'm not sure. Was that did they count that as a pass or was it a pitch? If it's a
was a
pass, they
lateral.
were already
No,
at
it's a pitch.
752 passing yards.
That was a
It's a
lateral.
pitch.
Are you kidding me?
They were already not the
Combined.
Saints alone.
Oh,
combined.
okay. I was like,
No. That might be a
Andre
record.
Ware is called.
He wants his records back.
What do you think about Ingram is back?
I think he's okay.
Just another guy, or
Yeah, I mean, he hasn't done anything to stand out. That's for sure. I mean, that offense is tough. Too, they give a lot of plays in the huddle, from what I'm told. They expect there's a lot of checks, so I can't imagine it, coming in there and without OTAs and then all of a sudden just being ready to go at running back.
I've been surprised how much they've marginalized Pierre Thomas, because I always thought that guy was pretty solid.
I think he is too. I think they're trying to keep
like
everyone
Pierre
fresh, but
Yeah, he's kind of injury prone when you put a lot of work on him. He showed
Yeah.
that.
Those
last
guys
year,
all
right?
had spurts. Chris Ivory would come in and have some
Right.
spurts, and then Pierre Thomas would come in and look good.
I kind of like what they're
They all
doing
get
between
hurt.
Sproles, Ingram. You've got
Sproles
Thomas
has been a
still.
great pickup for
Chris
them.
Ivory's still there. They got a lot of different options. And Ingram looks like he had a great night and really ran off that one big run. How good are the Saints? Are they? They're not Packers good, but are they clearly in the
I think they're
next
up
tier? They're in the. If
You think
if
defensively
anybody
they're
can
good
knock
enough?
out the Packers,
I mean, I think they can put enough pressure on where I think they're a lot like the Colts in the sense that back in the day is that they'll bend but not break. Then they put enough pressure on you that as long as they play from ahead, that they're effective.
Right.
But if they fall behind 14 points, I think they struggle because.
See, I just see them living and dying by that blitz. If you
Sure,
have somebody
absolutely.
can
And that's what I'm
pick them up
saying.
and you got five
If you're
across,
ahead, it's going to be tough for them to dial up a lot of those.
The Packers
blitzes.
played close to their A game against them the first game of the season, and it was they got stuffed to the 1 yard line.
Yeah.
So that's probably a pretty close matchup. If anyone's going to knock off Green Bay, it's probably them.
can they win though in January in Green Bay? The Saints offense
Here's the thing:
doesn't lend
is like,
itself to the cold.
well, do you think the Green Bay offense lends
Well,
itself to that weather?
you're right.
I mean,
You're right.
that's-
But at
it's
least
not
they're
like-
used to playing it.
That's what everyone's like. Well, you got to go to Lambeau and win this. I'm like, I don't know if Green Bay wants to be in Lambeau to win this thing either. It's just now you can't. Who knows how well. Everyone says that every time it snows in New England, Brady's going to get shut down, and it just seems like he throws
He
for
does
100
fine,
extra
yeah.
yards too.
Yeah.
So it's it's the team that's not scared of it. I feel like more than anything that ends up being a better.
Second most in the game in team history, 577 yards allowed by the Giant
They
defense.
put up 577 yards on them. That's special there now. That is special.
And
Do you like this putting your guys at risk here when the game's over, or should they? I mean, not that you take it. I guess you can't take a knee when you're down 25.
Yeah,
Would you get ripped as a coach if you took a knee here because you didn't want to get your guys hurt?
No, but you can easily hand it off.
they're not doing that.
What do you
though.
think? What do you think about that, Greg? What do you think about them trying to?
I think you hand it off.
Yeah.
I mean,
I think when you're down 3 scores, 4
Right.
scores, you hand it off, and it would be one thing if you're down 10 or something like that. And
If Eli
looking
gets
for a
hurt here,
miracle.
Coughlin's
Yeah.
going to have hell to pay.
I mean, like,
I don't know that I'd have him in the
gets
game.
the head coach fired though.
Yeah.
Get on national exposure. When
What?
you
You
really
don't think
need the
David
game.
Carr can come in and lead this Giant team to the NFC East?
I'd put him in because if he gets hurt, it's no major loss. If you lose Eli, you're in big trouble.
Probably.
I'm not sure. I mean, the Giants 3 weeks ago, I think, were sitting and had a 2-game cushion in first place in the NFC East.
Does Gruden ever
Did they
coach again?
miss the playoffs? They may miss the playoffs.
If you were him, would you?
I think he's enjoying what he's doing right
Do
now.
you get paid what he's getting paid? $2 million, $3 million a year to do this?
Plus, he's good.
He's good. You $2 million, $3 million a year to do this. You work 20 weekends a year.
Those little quarterback camps he does. And stuff
Yeah,
like
he gets
that.
to do that stuff. I mean, I'm sure there's that itch that he's always going to want. But at the end of the day, I mean, now his kid's in high school, so maybe if his kid got out of high school, maybe he starts entertaining.
I always
some
thought he'd be an
offense.
awesome college coach. 'Cause I thought he'd be able to recruit like
But
crazy.
here's the thing: is yes, would you be good at one person's home? Absolutely. But the thing about recruiting is it's a grind. It's monotonous, and how many John Grudens of the world, you've run the Super Bowl, want to chase down 17-year-old snot-nosed kids.
Yeah, and have to prove yourself to them.
Yeah, like, you know, who are they? Like, that's the thing with recruiting that you don't. A lot of people are good at recruiting, but the thing of it is not a lot of people want to do it because of what it's become.
I think he's got a certain aura about him that just based on anyone that's watching these quarterback little camps that he's done and just the one-on-ones. I mean, even the guys that aren't any good, the Jimmy Clausens, the Terrell Pryors, I think you have to kind of feel like, wow, if I'm a player, I'm going to get something out of the attention I'm getting from this guy.
No doubt.
Matt Jackson, Greg Koch, thanks for stopping by. Thanks to Jeff Taffe as well from the Houston Aeros, who was with us earlier this evening. Reminder, we're going to be back at our home Skybox studio. Chargers and Jaguars next Monday night. ThebusTV.com.
Can't wait.
Get your popcorn ready.
If only this group had found something to talk about.
We want to say special thanks to our sponsors tonight. Chicken Kitchen, keeping us all fed. Billiard Factory, we're out here at the Champions location on FM 1960 in Houston. You can check them out at billiardfactory.com. Signature Audio as well. And Verizon. Eric, good luck next week as you guys get ready to take on the Falcons. I was going to say, no matter who's at quarterback.
I don't want to jinx you, but every time you guys win a game, you lose a valuable player. Just saying. So maybe you guys should lose on Sunday. So
well, as long as you don't call me a valuable player, I'm okay.
Oh, don't worry. We would never do that.
Set him up, knock him down.
On that note, we will see you next Monday, 7:30 at ThebusTV.com, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central. Thanks for watching, everybody.